Everybody that's here joining us tonight for our regularly scheduled, special, board meeting for the Taos Municipal Schools Board of Education. Today is Wednesday, March 6th, 2024. It is approximately 6:07 p.m. I would like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
Member Concha? Here. Member King?
Here.
Secretary Trujillo?
Here.
Vice President Sprague?
Present.
President Flores?
Here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could all stand, flag is here, hands to the right, Superintendent, if you could lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is respectful to recognize the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. We acknowledge that we are on the historic homeland of the Red Willow people within the original territory of Taos Pueblo. This acknowledgement will oblige as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to respectfully recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Red Willow people whose land and water we benefit from in this great valley today. Item E on the agenda is approval of the meeting agenda. Are there any proposed amendments or changes? Superintendent? Hearing none, seeing none, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a second from Vice President Cynthia. Can you please get a roll call?
Member Concha?
Yes.
Member King?
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo?
Yes.
Vice President Sprague?
Yes.
President Flores?
Yes. We're moving right along. Is item F of presentations. We have one presentation that I asked the superintendent to have for us. It's a presentation on our attendance policies. The board spoke about some initiatives at one of our previous meetings, and one of the initiatives that was highlighted was attendance. So I think it's very informative that we hear our policies and how the district is working on attendance. This is Martinez.
Thank you, dear.
Good evening, President Flores, Vice President Sprague, Secretary Trujillo, Member King, Member Concha, Superintendent Mondragon. I am happy to give this presentation because there's a lot of work that's being done in the district. And I'm quite pleased with the work that our attendance coaches are doing in collaboration with our site administrators and teachers to address some needs that we have within the district regarding attendance. If you can go to next slide. As you know, our strategic plan for instruction focuses on instruction regarding assessments. We also look at our graduation rates, and 1.3 is specifically attendance. So I have presented in the past our New Mexico Vistas data regarding attendance. So we know from last year and the previous year how each school site is doing with county truancy. I would like to share that as, even though I can share a lot of information with you, I'm still learning all of the nuances of attendance. And so we are lucky to have Ms. Misha Etheridge, who has been with the district with attendance in various capacities for the last, how many years? A very long time. And we also have with us Daniel Jackson, who is our attendance coach at Taos High School, and he's a 7-week-old attendance coach.
Right.
So he's still learning, but he's doing an amazing job. Next slide, please. So first thing I would like to do is to define what chronic absences are. And this is a shift from our previous language and understanding of attendance. Prior to 2019, we had the Compulsory Attendance Act, which looked primarily at truancy, which was unexcused absences. In 2019, the state adopted the Attendance for Success Act, which then shifted a lot of the language and the supports and the responsibilities of the district to provide intervention and prevention regarding attendance rather than be punitive as what it kind of had been in the past. So I want to be clear when we're talking about chronic absences and the work that's being done is that this is the definition that we function under, which is excused absences as well as unexcused absences and suspensions. So when we're looking at attendance for students in the district, we're looking at all three of those components, which is one of those pieces that we definitely need to provide some more education to our community about, because in the past, we only focused on unexcused absences. So when school sites are reaching out to parents and students, they're like, oh, but these are all excused. We look at absences in general. And so that's the definition that all of this work functions under. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, attendance is a national issue. We've seen an increase in attendance, chronic absentee rates throughout the nation after COVID. I think the disruption to the normal education cycle has been one of the major issues that school sites have been dealing with. And unfortunately, 2/3 of our students nationwide attend schools with a chronic absentee issue. This impacts instruction. It impacts instruction because students are present to receive instruction, but then it also impacts the instruction for students who are at school because teachers are then reteaching, modifying their lessons, and the amount of learning that takes place in the classroom is disrupted. And so that's one of those issues. It not only impacts the students who are absent, but it also has an impact on the students who are coming to school. One of the other things that I want to point out is, although we want to change this, over 80% of our New Mexico students are attending a school with a chronic absence issue. And so it's something that all of our schools are dealing with. I was lucky enough to go to an attendance conference last week where they showed some of the best practices, and those are some of the things that are actually happening within the district, and I'll share with those with you in just a little bit. Remembering attendance is not just you're not in school. Attendance usually has a root cause to it, which is tied often to physical, emotional, sense of belonging. Are we providing an environment where students feel welcome? Do they feel engaged in the work that they're asked to do in a classroom, and do they feel capable of doing that work? Are there such drastic learning gaps between where they are and where they're expected to be that they just don't feel like they can actually do the work in the classroom, so it's easier to just not attend? And then also looking at adult and student well-being, attendance is an issue where we have to address the needs of the students, but also where we need to address the needs of the adults in the building, because they build that environment and that culture within the school that allows students to feel comfortable coming to school in the first place. Next slide. So in your packets this evening, you did receive, or you should have received, I believe, the copy of our state statute, which is HB 236, which was adopted in April 2019. I'm going to give you the highlights. I'm not going to read through everything on the slides because it's a lot. But one of the things that I did want to point out is that the major shift in attendance with this law was prevention and intervention, rather than punitive like we have been in the past. And establishing a process and protocols for schools and districts to follow that was consistent. So we had a continuity of support for our students from pre-K all the way to graduation. In order to do that, data becomes a really important part of the process. And looking at the percentage of days that are missed in school is how we are going to identify what types of support students need. Tier 1, if you look at the triangle, is the baseline of universal supports for all of our students. Tier 1 is where we're looking at whole school prevention. We're trying to build a culture of awareness about what our laws are, what we want our students to engage in, that we want them there, making sure that they feel welcomed, parents feel welcomed, and that we're telling everybody attendance matters. And that's everybody, includes our students, our staff, our educators, and our community as well. Because everybody needs to be part of the solution, because this is a community issue. Tier 2 is where we start looking at chronic absenteeism and students who have missed between 5 and 9% of the school year, and that percentage shifts. So 9% at 1 month into the school year is very different from 9% at second semester. So we're looking at percentages here rather than days missed. And in the past, that's what we used to do, is we were always looking at, you missed 5 days, you missed 10 days. We're looking at percentages now. Tier 3 is more intense interventions. We're hoping that at Tier 2, our teachers are reaching out, having conversations. Your student hasn't been here for a few days. What can we do to help support you? Do we need to provide some tutoring to help get you caught back up academically? And then in Tier 3, we start engaging the support from our attendance coaches and our attendance teams. And these are where we start having letters sent. We also have conversations, phone calls, meetings if need be, and try to connect students with services to help support them to come back to school consistently throughout their school year. Tier 4 is intensive support. Students who are at 20% of absences throughout the year, or throughout where they are within the year. And these are our students that we're most concerned about. As well as we are doing Tier 4 is the final step, which would be a referral to CYFD or JPO. And so really we want to provide all of those supports for students before we get to that CYFD or JPO referral, because we want to make sure that our students have everything that we have available within the community, not just within the school site, to help them get to school and to successfully complete their school year. Go ahead and switch. Thank you. Just some highlights from the state statute. I would like to point out the early warning system, EWS, is something that we have in place within the district in every school site. It's tied to our student information system, which is PowerSchool, and it collects all of our attendance data for our coaches, and then they're able to monitor how our students are doing. They're able to identify which tier they're at based on the percentage of classes that they've missed. It's data heavy, but it also provides us with an accurate picture, hopefully, of how our students are doing. The early warning system also is available for teachers to view when they get into PowerSchool. And I will say also now, which is a huge benefit to our school sites and all of our coaches, all of our teachers, administrators, is the implementation of Panorama, which gives you a complete snapshot of a student. It's the whole profile of academics, assessments, attendance, and a place for us to log those interventions that we're providing for students. So when we have parent meetings or we're having conversations with community support, we can look at the whole profile of the student, and then we have a documented record of what we've been doing to provide support for our students. And that's been a huge shift at the high school. They've embraced it completely. They're like, give us more. We want more tools for Panorama. They absolutely love it. And it's one of those things that I think is making the work easier, because this is a heavy lift for everybody within the school site. So that has been a real benefit for all of our, well, high school right now, middle school will have their rollout Friday, and then in April is our elementaries. Next slide, please. One of the key pieces of the Attendance Success Act is looking at what are the barriers for attendance. And that really takes some honest conversations with students and parents about why is your student not attending. That's the hard part, is because if we just continue to say you're absent, you're absent, you're absent, you're moving from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 to tier 4, now CYFD, JPO, we've never determined why the student is not attending, and we really need to have those conversations. So the coaches are the ones who are engaging in those conversations. And please remind me of the number of how many parent phone calls you've had in the last 2 weeks.
Well, I've had in the last 2 weeks, it's been numerous, and over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've met with 120 students and most of their parents. And those are the most at-risk kids at the high school.
So as I said, labor intensive, but it is a human endeavor. It is something that requires a coach who has the time and the information to engage in those conversations to provide support. Do we want that number of students who are at risk? No. But those are the conversations that start bringing students back to school so we can identify why they're not in school in the first place. One of the other pieces that I want to point out from the state statute is that each district is required to provide all of this information on their district website. And I will say that that's one of our action plans for our attendance. We have a new website coming up. We've already talked with our IT department about making sure that we are in compliance with all of this on our district website. One of the last pieces I want to point out is that this work cannot be done solely by our coaches. We need a team. And part of the state statute is we need to have attendance teams, which include social services, which include our social emotional components, our community schools. So we've had conversations with the attendance coaches to make sure that we're including all those partnerships. And if there's partners that we need to make connection with in the community, like Team Court, JPO, that those are conversations that are happening so that this work doesn't happen in a silo, and that everybody feels comfortable that they're supported to do the work that needs to be done. It's a heavy lift, and we don't want our coaches trying to make all of those connections by themselves. Next slide, please. One of the other pieces that I want to point out is within the state statute, there is a component that addresses extracurriculars, athletics, NMAA, and it aligns with what's on the NMAA site, which is students must have a 2.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale. One of the pieces that is important for us to remember is that students who receive special education services have a different standard. And we also need to remember that students should not be missing more than 15 days per semester of school or per class. And that's one of those things that we need to make sure that we're monitoring, is that they're not out of a specific class for more than 15 days throughout the semester for extracurriculars or athletics, co-curriculars, whatever that may be. And this applies to students starting in grade 9. So this standard does not apply to students before. Although we try to make sure that there's a continuous alignment of policy and support for students K-12. Next slide. One of the other pieces for the state statute that I'd like to share is just ensuring that students who are in a disrupted educational environment, these are McKinney-Vento or homeless students, students who are placed in the care of CYFD, family court-ordered services, mental health treatment facilities, students who are not in your traditional educational setting are still monitored, but they're also ensured that because of lack of attendance in a traditional educational setting, that they are not denied access to their education. So part of that means that upon enrollment in the school, we immediately have to prioritize their enrollment in core classes and then prioritize getting them into electives as well. And the Attendance Act actually allows us to provide, I guess, a more specifically defined definition for credit when students are in a disruptive educational environment. So they're moving from a treatment facility to a school to another treatment facility within the district or out of district. We really we need to make the effort to make sure that we're capturing, even if they're not there for the whole semester, what coursework has been completed and that credit transfers with them to wherever they go. So that they're not basically losing credit because of a transient situation that was not their own making or that they're stuck in. So that is one of the things that we've been working on within the district. And I'll just quickly say a lot of our students who come into the district in that situation, we put them online with TTCA so that we can ensure that they do not have as long of an interruption in their education. And then if they transition into a physical learning environment, then they make that transition, but we ensure that there isn't a delay in their enrollment and then access to education. Next slide, please. So now I'm gonna talk about district policy, which was adopted shortly after state statute in February of 2020. So school boards are really good about aligning district policy with state. And so I just wanted to point out a couple of things that are specific to Taft Municipal Schools is reasons for excused absence align as well with our state. However, we do have, I think in our district, more consideration of cultural and tribal obligations that we need to make in a concerted effort to provide excused absences for students who are participating in those events and are out of school for that reason. Our principals also have the ability to approve any religious, tribal, or cultural days that aren't already designated by the district as days that students should be excused with written consent. So we definitely take that into consideration. The calendar committee, when they're looking at the establishment of days that we have off, try to put this into the calendar to preemptively mitigate the problems that we have with attendance for students who are out for specific reasons. So they don't have to make up work, we're just all off. So it's a quick solution that really helps our students. And one of the other components is students must be allowed to make up their work. It's one of those things that we know needs to happen, but sometimes there's miscommunication about how that happens, and so that's one of those pieces that we continue to work on. Parents need to notify about excused absences, and then this is the piece that's really important, is that students who are missing school really need to be provided those interventions. It doesn't matter really the reason why you're out, we need to make sure that your educational experience is maximized. And that really requires interventions from the school sites. Go ahead and switch slides. One of the questions, and this is just one of those points for education, and it's just one of those things where there's a lot of ambiguity, and hopefully with conversations with staff and coaches, we'll clear this up, but tiers are utilized to support all of our students. It doesn't matter whether you have an IEP or a 504, you're still part of that tiered system. And we still need to be communicating with parents about absences. There may be a medical reason behind that, and that doesn't mean that you're in a punitive situation because there's a medical circumstance that prevents a student from coming to school, but we still document that. And then that's where the human factor comes in of the coach contacting the parents and saying, hey, look, we know there's a medical excuse. We're just still doing our due diligence to make sure that we're following up with you to ensure that our students are aware that we want them here, we want them to learn, and we want that what's best for them and for the parents as well. This is a piece that may be new, and I'm gonna present on this because we did have conversations with legal counsel. The school board is part of this process. And so in school board policy, it does say that the school board should be consulted before students are referred to CYFD or GPO. And that way you are aware of what's going on within the district and how many students are in that referral process. So one of the things that we're doing here at district and at the school sites is establishing what that protocol looks like. How do we make sure that our superintendent, whoever that may be, is aware of who are their students who need to be referred, so then that information can be shared with you as a school board in executive session. And that's just to make sure that we're in compliance with what's in our school board policy. So that will be something that is coming to you. And I don't believe it's been done in the past, but it will be done now to make sure that you are aware of what's going on with our attendance efforts within the district. No suspension or expulsion based on absenteeism, again, non-punitive. We used to do that. We used to withdraw students because they were absent, and that is not something that we do at this point in time. And we are making sure everybody understands that we are here to provide support, prevention, intervention, but non-punitive, and that way parents understand and students understand. And then again, parents are entitled to all records regarding interventions at any point. And our coaches are really good at documenting all the interventions that they're providing. Panorama is now going to be one of those clearinghouses where we can pull that information at any level within the district, so that I don't have to go over and ask Mr. Jackson, can I have a file on this specific student? It's available to me or to any other administrator who needs that information and then can provide that complete profile to parents or in whatever context that may be. So, one of the things that, next slide, please. One of the things that I wanted to really emphasize is the work that's being done and some timelines that we put together as an attendance team at the district level. So we met as our attendance team, all our coaches. I will say, and I'm gonna preface this work, we have babies with our attendance coaches. We have one attendance coach who has been with us for the entire year. We had another attendance coach hired probably at the end of last semester. We had Mr. Jackson, 7 weeks old, and we have an attendance coach who's 7 days old. So we have a very young team who needs training. And so we're leaning on Ms. Nisha here, who has that experience, and she has provided quite a bit of a guidance. And our goal is to align what we're doing at each school site. We want continuous and consistent interventions from K to 12. And we don't want there to be gaps, or this school does it this way and this school does it that way. And to cause any discomfort in the community regarding that, we're trying to avoid that. So we're looking at our letters, we're looking at our how we schedule our conversations with parents, what's that script that we're sharing. We're looking at all the forms that we're using. We have lots of plans to do that alignment. Some of that is going to happen by the end of the school year, but that is a continuous effort that will roll into next year. One of the other pieces is making sure that all of our school handbooks and athletic policies are aligned and consistent. When there is a difference in any of our handbooks, and that's the information that we give to our students and our parents, there is room for misunderstanding, frustration, anger, whatever it is, we want to avoid that. So part of that is having conversations with our site administrators to make sure that all of the policies that are in their book regarding attendance align with what our district and state policies are, and that there isn't room for ambiguity or misinterpretation. One of our other initiatives for this year is to look at our prevention efforts. Most of the schools who are in a similar situation as Taos is looking at our prevention and then our tier 4. That's where their efforts are focused, and that's what we're doing as well. So we are aligning our efforts the way schools throughout the state are aligning their efforts. It's a huge ask for us to try and hit every single one of those tiers and to make sure we're doing everything in compliance, but our goals right now are prevention and then our highest risk students. So that's where our efforts and energy are being focused. Not that we're ignoring our other students. They are still receiving their letters, they're still having phone calls, but those intensive supports like meetings and multiple phone calls and connections to the services, we're really focusing on our tier 4 and then coming up with some really innovative ideas for a culture of attendance within our school sites. So we've got some really good ideas of how we're going to finish up the year. Education is one of our primary goals. We want our students and our parents to understand the importance of attendance and what that means for them when they miss. So that's what our public campaign is for the remainder of the year, and it will roll on into next year as well. One of the last things that we're going to do is make sure that we're collaborating. As I mentioned earlier, this is a heavy lift for one coach at each school site. So making sure we have a team and that team is utilizing the resources that are already in place and have established relationships within the community. So our social emotional program, each school site has a SEL champ, making sure that they're part of this effort because social emotional well-being is critical to attendance within any school site. Our community schools coordinators, making sure that they're aware of what's going on, mental health, behavioral health, and then also that academic support. If a student is struggling and not coming to school because they don't feel academically prepared for a classroom, the only way to fix that is to make sure you fill in that gap. And that's really the important piece. So focusing those interventions in all levels, K through 12, and making sure students feel more capable and confident within the classroom. One of the things that we are also taking a look at, and this goes back to our Yazi Martinez, which was also the impetus for the Attendance for Success Act, was in response to that. We were punitive and we're keeping kids out of school, and it was our minority students. Traditionally, those are our students that are leaving school because of attendance. The idea behind this is to make sure our at-risk students are provided supports as well and monitored, and that we don't have a disproportionate number of students who are part of those subgroups being in the situation where they're not attending and nobody's really monitoring or finding out what's going on. So that's another aspect of that. And then the last piece is, now that the website is coming up, we are looking at posting all of our state law, district policy, supports and resources for families so that they can reach out. They have contact information for all of our coaches at each school site. Who do you connect with? And then just some literature, some information on the importance of education. The last few slides I'm just going to go through quickly. It is our data. And if you can go to the next slide. This is our New Mexico Vistas data, which I presented at my last presentation. So the numbers are the same, nothing new there. But hopefully you have a better understanding of why we have the numbers that we have and what we're doing to address the issue of attendance. Next slide, please. Taos High School currently, and they provided data on our Tier 4 students. They gave us information on the total number of students in each grade level. So 12th, 11th, 10th, and 9th. 42 students in 12th grade, 58 in 11th, 50 in 10th, and 49 in 9th grade. These are our Tier 4 students. We do have our data on Tier 3 and Tier 2. We just didn't put it up there, but this is our focus area. And we did disaggregate that by how many students have IEPs, students with 504s, students who've been retained in the past, as well as our Native American students. So really looking at those at-risk populations, our students who have disabilities or conditions that interfere with their education. You can see our IEP students in 504 there. Next slide. Taos Middle School, these are numbers by tier. And you can see our majority of students at Taos Middle School are in Tier 2 and Tier 3. We have very few in Tier 1 and a few who are at that critical point. And our attendance coach at the middle school, those are the students she's focusing her time and effort with. Definitely including our Tier 3 students in letters and phone calls, but really those intensive interventions for those 12 students. Next slide, please. Enos Garcia, again, you can see a lot of our students are hovering in those lower tier numbers. We have a good number of students in Tier 1 and Tier 2, but not too many students who are in that critically important area of Tier 4. Next slide. Arroyos, again, very similar to Enos. The majority of our students are in Tier 1 and Tier 2. They have absences, but we don't have any Tier 4 students. We have a few who are in Tier 3, but then again, our coach is focusing on our Tier 3 because we don't have any Tier 4 students at this setting. Next slide. Ranchos, similar. Elementaries are showing the majority of our students in Tier 1 and Tier 2. And then again, we have the same attendance coach at Ranchos as we do at Arroyos. So she's focusing again on her top tier students. So at Arroyos, that's her Tier 3, and at Ranchos, that's her Tier 4 students. And those are the phone calls and the meetings and the conversations. With that, I stand for questions, any points of clarification, and if I'm not sure about the information I get, I will definitely refer to Ms. Nisha, who's here and kindly giving up her evening to help support this. So if you have any questions, please.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, for your presentation. I want to thank our attendance coaches for being present as well. Mr. Jackson and Ms. Egrant, say that correctly. Etheridge.
I'm actually a counselor at the high school.
But she's in attendance for so long, she's our guru.
All right, well, thank you for your presence. But does the board have any questions or comments regarding the attendance presentation?
I just have one.
Member King and then Secretary.
Okay. What are you finding the reason that the kids aren't coming? Because I know just by living in Taos since '89, you got quite a few kids from Angel Fire, kids from Cuesta, Penasco. But sometimes those kids are the most motivated ones to get here. It's really the parents, right?
Well, looking at, the attendance plan for the district, I noticed that a lot of the resources and the data that we were using was from COVID area. And so it took some time to read about what's going on lately, what's going on in that we're facing in 23, 24. And, as Carla said, it's not just here, it's a national issue. And a lot of it is related to, we are feeling the after effects of COVID. We're feeling, a lot of these kids, especially the ones that we're seeing in high school, they were freshmen and they didn't set foot in the school. They didn't have freshman fitness. They were isolated at home. That's our graduating class this year. We're seeing, in the 10th grade class, a lot of behavioral issues, a lot of social emotional issues, a little upswing in violence, a little upswing in, substance use, these things that, yes, okay, it is a little bit normal, but it's also higher. On the same line of thought, our test scores are going down. Our students' achievement is noticeably, lower. We were looking at scores across the board, and also failing of core classes. We have, for instance, the 9th grade class now, which would have been a 6th and 7th grade, 6th grade. We have 69 of 197 students that failed 2 or more core classes in semester 1, which means those courses have to be taken again. And we're addressing a lot of that in our Flex Fridays and having the opportunity to provide those students with supports. But we're just seeing which is chronically across the country, but a lack of engagement, relevance, trying to find relevance with what it is at school. If I can sit at home and do my work at home, why do I need to be in the classroom? Also, we have an issue with long-term substitute teachers and having different teachers being created through these classrooms. The students aren't able to make connections with them. We have a couple of math classes that are actually online right now, which is, we're doing the best we can. It's the best thing that we can do for the students. But it's not the same as having a dedicated teacher that, has that level of education. So the kids are like, why do I need to go? I can just do that work at home on my computer. So we do a lot of work in the counseling department with finding relevance, connecting students to their future. It's kind of like time travel. If they can see hope, they can see themselves, where they want to be, and then come back and relate what they're doing now. We find that we have greater buy-in to them staying in school. I've been doing all the attendance coach stuff for the first semester alongside with, 5-4 coordinator, SAC coordinator, school counselor, DGR representative, sponsor for 10th grade. And I've been spread very thin. And that's also echoing across the country is there's a lot of staff members that are spread very, very thin. So that's the long and the short answer for you.
One of the things I'll also share is at the elementary level, there's also, I think, new causes for attendance issues. In the past, I'd never heard of a parent wanting the student to just stay home with them because they got used to them being home. And that's something that I've heard from staff members as well as encountered myself. So I think COVID provided a very unique environment, which shifted a lot of the way that we engaged in school and the way we thought about, do I need to be in school? Do I not need to be in school? And parents understanding, they shifted that as well. And so they come back to a traditional educational year and they still have that mindset of, oh, you missed a couple of days, you can just make it up. And forget that that continuity of instruction is lacking. So that's something that I've heard more frequently, is that, and as Nisha said, you just don't need to be in school. So that's where the education piece comes in, where we really want to focus our time and effort on educating students and parents and the community so that it's a support system rather than just the schools trying to do this work by themselves. It really does require our community to emphasize the importance of education, because we can't do that by ourselves. If you go to the grocery store and education is important there, well, that makes it more important than if it's just happening in the school. And that's really what we want to work on over the next several years.
Oh, another thing is a lot of our teenagers were hired and had jobs over COVID. They were able to work during the day and they got used to making money.
Secretary Trujillo, you had a question or comment?
I think that, it was answered, but are these numbers very current
Yes.
in the sense that, we got over COVID, but also we have all these viruses, not just COVID, RSV, flus, colds, unidentified
And that's,
illnesses, and they're prolonged so it isn't just like maybe being out 48 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours for these children. It's a little longer. I know that, one of my nieces was out the whole week and she was sick the whole week and still. And so it was, is that part of it?
yes, there's a couple of pieces that play into that. One of them is, well, when you're isolated, your immune system is not exposed to things, so it's not as strong. And that's like, the science behind the immune system. So coming out of COVID, a lot of us didn't have that exposure to the normal bugs and viruses, bacteria that we would have had, which builds our immune system so we recover from things more quickly. One of the other issues is that we have a hypersensitivity and awareness to a cough, to somebody sneezing, to somebody with a runny nose. It could be allergies, but then a lot of the time there's a stigma associated. I have a dry cough right now, and I'm apologizing profusely to everybody. I'm like, I'm not sick, it's just a dry cough. But that's the state that we live in, is because there's that hyper awareness of somebody who's sick. And so parents are living through that, students are living through that, our staff in the school sites are living through that. So students are out longer than they probably would have prior to COVID. And we're still hypersensitive to, oh, you have a cold, you should go home. You don't need to be in school, go take care of yourself, which we should be doing if we're sick. But there's also a prolonged period of time that students are absent in response to illness. And that's something that they've seen nationwide. And that was actually shared with us. I was like, oh, this is just a Taos thing. No, it's statewide and nationwide. And that was presented at the attendance conference that, well, Nisha was there virtually, I was there in person, so.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, President Flores. You mentioned 2 or 3 times that you felt the need to educate the community more on the excused, unexcused, and suspensions thing. How do you plan, what's the plan on doing that?
So there's a couple of ways that we plan to do that. One is to get it on our website, because the website for most families in most districts is one of those like go-to points to receive that information. The other part of that is an educational campaign that includes our open houses and making sure our attendance coaches are present during those events so that they are there. We usually focus on academics, or this evening actually at the high school, we have our social emotional evening. So it's focused on social emotional awareness. It's making sure that we're present at every single one of those events and that we're communicating that with families so that there is that awareness and attention to attendance. One of the other efforts, we came up with a couple of strategies this morning, was as parents are dropping students off, there's promotional, informational posters and items outside the school so that as parents are driving up, they see attendance is important every single day. Thank you for bringing your child to school on time. Thank you for bringing your child today. And that awareness is posted around the school. We also have talked about incentives and rewards for students who are attending school regularly and making sure that that's something that's celebrated in school. We celebrate academics, we celebrate athletics, let's celebrate attendance as well. So collaborating with some of our community partners to perhaps provide some of those incentive rewards for students. That's something that's happened in the past. we definitely want to continue that as well. So that information gets out and celebrating that in our newspaper. And we're good at celebrating certain aspects of our education. Let's talk about attendance and kids who are making the effort and those efforts that we're putting in as a district to help support our students. So those are some of the things that we've strategized, we have plans for, but definitely are open to more.
Thank you. I just one more question. It's for Jonathan. Sorry to interrupt. All right. I keep hearing about this new website. When is that gonna go online?
It was March 18th.
March 18th?
Yes.
Do we have anything, do you happen to know if we have attendance information on our website now?
I can answer that question.
Okay,
Right now, we do have some attendance information, but we do not have all of those pieces that I mentioned.
okay, got it. Thank you both. Thank you, Jonathan. Sorry to call on you. I know that we usually don't.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you, President Flores.
Member Concha.
Thank you, President Flores. I just want to thank you for your presentation, and I think from a strength-based perspective, the prevention and intervention is key, and even like starting at younger ages, you know, so students, they appreciate encouragement and rewards and incentives. And I know when I was in elementary, they had those, and we would, you know, get on our parents and be like, we don't want to be late, you know, we want to
I
get
want to
there.
win the like.
Yeah, and so, I think, you know, starting those, prevention strategies young is important. And, also you mentioned addressing the needs of students and parents in order to work around the whole, dig deeper on what is preventing students from attending. And I just wanted to share that, at the Leadership New Mexico conference last week, Arsenio Romero, the Secretary of Education for New Mexico, mentioned that, well, we asked, he was presenting data on attendance, and like you said, it's, you know, not just a task problem, but I asked him if he had data on community schools and the attendance rates, and he didn't specify what counties or anything like that, but he did say that, the attendance rate for, community schools is improving as opposed to communities who don't have community schools. And when we presentation here on the tour of the community schools, that's what they're addressing, you know, the needs of the students, whether it's food insecurity, transportation, clothing, any of that. And so, digging deeper, I think, and so we've asked him, you know, then we really should be putting more money into community schools, if we're seeing the progress already. And so, yeah, I just appreciate you mentioning that, because addressing the needs of students and parents will help us to figure out a little bit more of why students aren't making their attendance rates better.
Thank you. And that has been something that all of our attendance coaches have been like fully embracing, is the idea of it's a collaborative effort. And any of the research that you see with social emotional community schools, those initiatives, positive behavior initiatives, those all are aligned with improved attendance throughout any school or district. So we will continue to make those collaborations stronger.
President Flores, if I may address Board Member Concha, I'd just like to note that 3 of our school sites who do show the lower tier 4 attendance, those are our community school sites. And Enos has been one for several years, and Ranchos and Arroyos had it for a few years. So we've just had our new attendant or a community schools coordinator for the high school. So she's, you know, very into engaging the students and engaging families. So our hope is to see that positive attendance with the high school as well.
Right, yeah, I recall the data that she presented at the last one, and now showing, you know, that tier 4s aren't as high as, you know, we would think, considering everything that was laid out on the table for reasons why, including the mental health components, the behavioral health components that are super important to have in our schools. And I know at one point there was the school wellness committee, and I think that's also an important component to bring back at some point.
Right.
Thank you, Board Member King.
Yeah, I'm just curious, this is a little more of a personalization with Rose. We always would like to know a little bit about the new people on our team. So could you give us a little bit of history about yourself?
Yeah, I come from the Dallas area in Texas. I was a teacher there for 15 years at Billy Ryan High School in Denton. And in that time, I ran multiple student organizations where I was involved with the community, and that's what I've been expressing to parents, is I'm here to help you. Again, pointing out that we're not here to punish, but I'm here to be your eyes on the ground at the school and to let you know when things are getting a little shaky. And I've been away from the school setting for about a year and a half, and it's been awesome. As overwhelming as all the work has been, I absolutely love it to be back in the school. And it's where I belong, and I'm looking forward to helping as many of these kids and parents as I can.
Appreciate it. So were you here and responded to the offer in the community, or were you recruited from? Texas?
No, I applied.
Came here on faith,
Yeah,
Taos?
well, we wanted to get out of Texas.
Okay.
Things were getting a little weird there, especially as a teacher. Sorry for anyone who's from Texas, but.
You're right.
Yeah, and my wife has been in love with Taos long before I met her.
Okay.
And she said, let's go there. And it felt right, and we just picked up and moved. And it has felt right ever since stepping foot here.
Okay.
I love this community, it's great. And I hope to learn more about it and become a part of it as fully as I can.
Appreciate you.
And I just want to say high school staff are super appreciative of him being there. I've heard lots of accolades from staff saying, we're so happy he's here, he's doing an awesome job. So I don't know if you've heard that, but I'll share that with you. So thank you for joining
I
us.
try.
Great. Well, thank you, board, for all your questions and comments. A couple things I wanted just to speak on. I think it's very important that we are adding our attendance policies and everything that you cover to the website.
Yes.
Being a gateway from somebody that's at home that is not aware of all of the information, and to be able to have it accessible, I think is needed and very important. So I'm thankful for the district in working on that, on our IT department for working on that. It probably saves some phone calls and some questions.
We'll
when
still
they-
get them, but.
Yeah. For clarifications and so forth, but it's very important too, to also highlight that information, you know, the policies and law and so forth. So I'm really happy to hear that. I think it's a long time coming, but it's very appreciated. I also want to acknowledge and thank the hiring of our attendance coaches. I know that's been a need for some time. Very excited to hear that Mr. Jackson is on board with the high school. You know, and his enthusiasm and hearing him just speak a little bit about himself is very warming. And to know that we have individuals on staff such as him are a big benefit to the community. And you already are a part of the community. You're working at high school, you're working with our parents, so welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And I look forward to all the great work that you have ahead of you. One of the words that I try to live by is being impactful, you know, to have impact in whatever it is that we do. If it's at home, if it's at work, if it's hiking on a trail and you pick up a piece of trash, you know, you're being impactful. So I think it's great to have those type of individuals working for us. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's very important that we hear from you, hear what the district's doing. You did a great presentation. They're very knowledgeable in what you present. It's good for the board to hear it. It's good for the public. These meetings are recorded. It's good to know that the district is working on it. I mean, it's a continuous work in progress. So, you know, sometimes you take little steps, sometimes you take big steps, sometimes we're running. As long as we're taking the steps in the right direction is important. I also just want to acknowledge my support and it was very pleasing to hear that a public campaign. I think it's important, and I think there's a lot of avenues that we can reach the public, you know, via the newspaper, maybe even ads on the radio, our website, sending letters home with parents. I think it's very important, even partnering with like our grocery stores, maybe putting up a poster at the entry to our grocery stores. We know everybody's got to go buy groceries at some point in time. So maybe we could, look to, work with Walmart and put a poster up that says, you know, your attendance at school matters, you know, Walmart supports school attendance, something like that. So maybe we could look at partnering with community, businesses and so forth. I think it would really, cement that into people and parents. I also want to, praise and acknowledge that we're celebrating attendance, and I think that we can never really do enough on that. And to hear board member Concha talk about, that being celebrated at a young age, I can also recall, you know, the perfect attendance certificates that used to go out. I'll be honest with you, I never got one, but I always aspired, to get one, and, I think it's great to, have incentives for students, but also something that just I thought of, that maybe we can, look with, maybe solicit some businesses to participate, or, seek funding from donors or community foundations is an incentive for parents. I know that we can't, give every, and I wrote down a gas card lottery. Maybe everybody that is in, a certain, maybe tier one, or that is not in tier one, we can get all those parents' names and maybe have a lottery of sorts where we could give 4 gas cards out a semester for
That's a very good thing.
like $25, you know, to show the parents that we're also acknowledging them bringing their students to school. And I mean, we all need gas in our cars. Gas is something every time we're at the pump, we're like, don't look at the pump. I think, not only in incentivizing our students, but also, trying to work with the parents. So maybe we could look at a way to do that, even if it's 1 gas card a semester for a parent, you know, that could really highlight their day and, show that they're trying and impacting their students' attendance and so forth. I just have a couple questions and don't want to, you know, I think it's very important if maybe we could just highlight, or speak to what do we do in regards to prevention? Like, what is some of the stuff that, this district does, or how do we go about in prevention, and how do we also go about intervention?
So the prevention is, kind of what you were speaking to just a minute ago, is celebrating attendance
Okay,
and keeping students in class and knowing how important it is, students and parents and the community, that students attend school every single day. And so that's kind of the prevention piece. It's creating a culture within the school that is welcoming and supportive of students, and saying, you know, I'm glad you're here today. I'm so happy to see you. Oh, you weren't here yesterday. We really missed you. We hope you're feeling better. And that's actually, something that's very low cost. It's very easy for us as adults to engage in those conversations with our students. So that's part of the prevention, the public campaign, making sure that there's awareness of the importance of attendance in our community. Those are the pieces that we really classify under the prevention piece. Intervention is different depending on what level we're kind of working at. One of the first levels of intervention is a teacher just making a phone call and saying, hey, I'm concerned, your student hasn't been here. We're really interested in making sure that they can get back on track. And again, framing is really important when those conversations are taking place. In the past, attendance was always seen as punitive, and a lot of our parents actually bring that history with them when they come to school, because maybe they didn't have the best attendance, and so now you're calling them on their student who doesn't have great attendance. So really that rapport that we're trying to build with parents, and approaching it from a supportive aspect rather than saying, you know, your kid wasn't here. Where were they? They need to be here. So just framing those conversations and coaching is really important for our staff to, how do I have that phone call with a parent? I've never made a phone call before, or how do I address a very particular situation? Those are some of the pieces that are part of like our first layer of intervention. Teachers actually just saying when a student comes back to school and they've been absent, hey, we missed you, what do we need to do to get you caught back up? Like, those are some of those initial interventions. When we're talking about more intensive interventions, those are including letters that are sent to families. Each school site is mailing hundreds of letters because the information, you know, that I shared with you, the data is we have students in every single tier level, and we want to make sure that that's one point of communication that we have. So that's an intervention, just making parents aware of the situation. Other interventions are where our coaches start coming in and having conversations with them. What do you need? Do we need to support you? What's the root cause? Do you need help with transportation? Is it social emotional? Is it mental health? Is it medical? Those are the conversations that start feeding into the intervention. And just this last week, I believe it was, the high school met with Teen Court to establish a protocol so that students can be referred to Teen Court. Teen Court is not GPO, just to clarify. Teen Court is a supportive entity that does training and classes for students on a variety of topics, but one of them is attendance. And so establishing a protocol and a way to get students referred to Teen Court so that they have that education from a different outside source is one of those supports. Connecting students and families with our community schools coordinators, if transportation is an issue, if housing is an issue, if finances are an issue, that's another place where we've seen efforts being made at each one of our school sites. Reaching out to our behavioral and mental health services that are associated with our school, making referrals for students so that they can receive those services in school. Intervening between a student and a teacher. Sometimes it's the classroom environment that makes a student uncomfortable, and having conversations to kind of mediate that situation and find common ground so a student feels more comfortable, identifying whether that's academic, behavioral, personality conflict, whatever it may be, so we can identify if a student's, and this is more of a secondary issue, missing a specific class on their schedule, what do we need to do in order to make sure that you go to fifth period every single week, that you're not just missing that class? Is it that it's after lunch and then you're off campus? Is it that you don't like the teacher? Like, having those conversations, I think, lends a huge amount of support for students to engage in their actual class, in presence in class. Is there anything you want to add?
One thing that we did, I think it's been like the last 5 years, is we add a note on every report card too, like attendance matters, here's connection, and then also their attendance on their report card. And that's another bit of, awareness for the families.
That's great.
Sure.
Yes. Secretary.
Excuse me, I have one of these coughs. I like what you all said, and one of the things that just kind of sparked my thought was listening to the kids. Listening to them, because sometimes we make all kinds of decisions for them and the parents and everybody else concerned, but just finding out where they're at that point in time. And I just wrote a couple of, from all that you said, and that was engagement, which equals capability and confidence in them, so that they'll want to come, that they'll love coming to school, that they'll find a strength either in athletics or just the learning, or just the teacher that cares, somebody that cares, or the lunch, whatever it is that's going to draw that child, because we have to look at them as the child, not the children. We're looking at them as a whole, but that child that just is so precious and so neat. We're forming our future. They're the ones that are going to be sitting in board seats. They're going to be the teachers. They're going to be the leaders, and they're all leaders to me. I see them as all leaders, and we just have to find out how to bring that engagement, just listening to them and loving on them, sometimes nurturing them, whatever they need. And that's where all these other resources that you all have come into play. And it's good that we have them at this time and we're utilizing them instead of it being a stigma, like it might have been in the past, saying, no, I just need some support here.
One of the other pieces, if I can speak to the engagement, is as we're looking at this picture of attendance, it requires that we're looking at instruction as well. And some of the pieces that bring that engagement to students is involvement in CTE courses and our extracurriculars and our after-school programming. So one of the things that we're working on is developing some of those pieces that align with the initiatives of each school site. It's addressing attendance, but it's also addressing other needs within the school site. So this has to be a multifaceted approach and really having those conversations between all of the stakeholders, whether they're in the school or outside the school, so that we can build that engagement. UNM Taos, anybody who's coming into the school and providing support services or internship opportunities. Those are the pieces that we're really trying to build. And that's part of our initiatives for SEL, for community schools, it all flows together. And we really want to make sure that we're not working in a silo, or our attendance coaches think that they need to figure it all out. Is that I'm gonna lean on our community schools coordinator, our social emotional coordinator, our behavioral and mental health. So that's partnership is something that we really want to build.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I really appreciate the presentation and the healthy conversation, and more than likely, we'll probably talk about attendance in the future down the road, but I appreciate everybody's work. And on a lighter note, Secretary Trujillo mentioned lunch. And when I played football for Taos High School, one of the guys we played football with, his nickname was Lunch, because that was his favorite subject. So it's important to have a good lunch, so.
And some of our kids, that's why they come, is to eat. They really do that.
Yeah,
So
thank you so much, appreciate it.
Let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank you, thanks, everybody, appreciate it very much. Okay, so moving right along, we have item G of public comment. Anybody would like to speak of public comment? We have a small audience. Mr. Hall. So as common practice, any interested person may submit data, views, or arguments in writing to the board on any school-related topics. An individual or representative wishing to give public comment shall register prior to participating in public comment. So if you could please sign the public comment form, Mr. Hall, if not. When registering for public comment, the speaker shall be required to identify the subject matter in some form or fashion on the comments they wish to speak on. Per our policy, speakers are allotted roughly 3 minutes or an amount otherwise designated by the board president. The board president, in his or her role in this, or sole discretion, may shorten or lengthen the comment period to ensure that the meeting is efficiently and promptly conducted. We encourage you to abide by the time limits, avoid personal attacks, and utilize all administrative venues for complaint resolution before bringing issues to the board. Avoid identifying students or staff in comments, and present all comments professionally and respectfully. Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your attendance, and go ahead.
Thank you. In the course of the interview and in the first meeting after being chosen to conduct the superintendent search, JG Consultants started reaching out to stakeholders and holding stakeholder meetings. I often find myself confounded, puzzled by just what constitutes a stakeholder. Can I subscribe to stakeholdership in some manner of quote-unquote stakeholder group? Can I apply for membership in some manner of quote-unquote stakeholder cohort? Are stakeholder groups self-appointed? Who decides what constitutes stakeholdership? Who decides how one becomes a stakeholder? Can stakeholderships be purchased? And if so, how much does the stakeholdership cost? Can I buy a stakeholdership? Or are stakeholderships only for the wealthy or other special interests? Are we not all stakeholders in matters of community well-being, specifically, not exclusively, matters of governance, matters of food, housing, and water security for all, and of course, matters of education? If we are not all stakeholders in matters of community and matters of education, why are we not stakeholders? What, if anything, will disqualify a community member from stakeholdership in community affairs? Excuse me. In the well-being of the community, as expressed in the education of this community's children. I said at a previous school board meeting and reiterated that I would like to see mixed stakeholder groups, same one, so that the voices of all stakeholders, however stakeholdership is defined and determined, can be heard by one another, so that different stakeholders can hear the concerns of other stakeholders. That same one group I referred to is the faith community, referenced by JG Consulting in previous board meetings. I would like to know if the faith community, as a group, as stakeholders, wants to see in the school superintendent what the faith community expects to be taught in this community school. But as a student, I believe in lifelong education for all. We should all consider ourselves lifelong students and should encourage and teach the children of this community the importance of being lifelong education. Lifelong students. Unfortunately, I don't believe the importance of lifelong education resonates in this community to the extent that I believe it should. I cited an example of the town of Taos' recent consideration and pursuit of a possible home rule charter by an appointed home rule charter commission. During home rule charter commission deliberations, I say there was considerable resistance to the idea of education, the idea of helping to educate the community in matters of governance and home rule. That resistance is best exemplified by the statement of one home rule charter commissioner that they, quote, didn't have time to educate the community, end quote. Enough said. I'm going to read something that Abraham Lincoln, my computer just locked up. It's, the battery is low, so just a moment. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm almost finished. I have to stand here. In 1832, Abraham Lincoln stood for the state legislature of Illinois. And he wrote what he called his first political announcement on March 9th, 1832. He said, quote, upon the subject of education, not presuming to dictate any plan or system respecting it, I can only say that I view it as the most important subject which we as a people are engaged in. That every man may receive at least a moderate education, and thereby be enabled to read the histories of his own country, by which he may duly appreciate the value of our free institutions, appears to be an object of vital importance. He goes on to say, and this is just a small part of his announcement. Goes on, for my part, I desire to see the time of education by its means, morality, sobriety, enterprise, and industry shall become much more general than at present, and should be gratified to have it in my power to contribute something to the advancement of any measure which may have a tendency to accelerate the happy period. I'll conclude by saying that I think attendance is so important. As JG and I don't remember his name, the gentleman over there with glasses said, you can't teach them if you don't reach them. I wrote, absent were truant parents by stealing their children's future, stealing their children's opportunities. So we shouldn't, I think, consider just the children as truant, or absent, but as parents. I think parents should be so involved and should consider their children's education so important. And that should be stressed to them. And I don't believe in punishing at all. So I don't know how you do that, how you encourage that kind of involvement by the parents. But rather than thinking of absent or truant children, I think of absent or truant parents, absent or truant students, whoever they may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your comments. We appreciate it.
Mr. Hall, they're doing the reading program in the schools this week. And if you're available tomorrow in Ranchos, they would love to have readers in the classroom.
I read, Hughes Garcia a couple of years ago. So if I just show up at Ranchos Elementary, then.
Yeah, just have your ID. And they'll.
When is it again? When should I be there?
Tomorrow, you may want to.
Go early?
Yeah, early 8. You could call them and tell them you're available.
Board Member King, I would just advise you, if you have time and would like to read, if you could just stop by and drop in with our executive secretary or our superintendent, and they will find you a time to be able to get out there and read.
Tomorrow?
Yes,
Yeah.
anytime tomorrow.
In Rochester.
Yeah, and Roger, but stop by the administration building and just let them know. And thank you for your comments, just, I sometimes go off cuff a little bit, but, I've been watching a couple documentaries on Lincoln on Netflix. And it's been very captivating, to be honest with you. I would advise everyone to watch Lincoln on Netflix. Okay, so we're gonna move right along. I want to thank JG Consulting for their patience and, being present here for tonight's meeting. A good part of this meeting is gonna have them present to us, so we'll go ahead and move right to them. Item H of old business, a JG Consulting update on superintendent search, including leadership profile based on stakeholder input. And we have a couple items here. I'm just gonna read through them real quick. So item 1 is JG Consulting update on superintendent search, including leadership profile based on stakeholder input. Item 2 is discussion and possible action regarding the leadership profile of a superintendent job description. Item 3 is discussion action regarding any outstanding items to be addressed related to marketing, recruiting, and opening of application portal. Item 4, final item, is discussion and possible action regarding superintendent search next steps, including possible adjustments to search plan. So at this time, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to JG Consulting.
Thank you, President Flores, members of the board, guests, and staff. Really appreciate hearing all the good work that's going on with attendance. You can't put a premium on the 2 staff members that were here, because that one-on-one contact is going to have great impact. Dr. Scrivener and I have a lot of experience with attendance, because we both had districts with really low attendance, and I offered Mrs. Martinez an opportunity to share some information with her. So congratulations to you and the staff. Also, a point of personal privilege before we get started. Today is this young man's birthday.
Happy birthday.
But that's a commitment we have to you that, Mr. Guerra was traveling and not able to be here, but I told him I would buy him a McDonald's. Right down the street.
Yeah, happy deal.
So we have two reports to present to you. The first one is a summary report of the whole search process, where we're at, what we've done, activities we've done, and then how we've come to the conclusion of the leadership profile, which is the second document, which will need your approval. The first document, there's a lot of verbiage in it, so I'm gonna go through it really quickly, so stop me if you have questions, okay? So first of all, we develop for all of our clients, our partners, a summary report that can be used when you hire your next superintendent, whether it's whoever it may be. There's a lot of good information in here, and a couple of recommendations for you as a board and as an administrative team. So, Jonathan, por favor, thank you. So there's some components. Again, I'm going to brief through them very quickly because there's quite a bit of information in there. First of all, we'll go through. We started out this process when we met with you by setting up meetings, right? Town halls, one-on-one, meeting with the different stakeholders, whoever they may be, whether they were community, whether they were individuals, or if they were members of organizations. And that took place during March 12th and February 12th and March 15th. We also interviewed each one of you, board members, and then this is the data we're using to develop the leadership profile. So some of the things that we've been doing and will continue to do throughout the search are weekly communication with the board, and your designee, who's been Vice President Sprague. She's been very helpful. Thank you. We've been on the phone quite a bit. We're on speed dial. And,
No problem. Appreciated it.
She's been very, so we've kept the lines of communication open. I also want to thank Cynthia. She's been very helpful at times that we.
Christina.
Cristina, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Cynthia and Cristina, okay. Cristina Montes, right?
Yes.
Thank you for being very helpful. We appreciate that. And so we're gonna continue to use all these facets to move to the next step. The original recommendations that we have a consistent message, which we've had. You've got a message to the community of what's going on. We have the superintendent's webpage up, and we'll continue to post updates on that webpage. Also, you've designated a representative to work with us, and that's worked very well. Once we get this search kicked off, we will follow up with a weekly update to you as to search progress. For example, it could be this week we had 3 applications from out of state, from in-state, internal, external. We'll provide a report for you on a weekly basis. Sometimes there may not be much to report. We'll report activities going well. But usually, as you well know, this takes time, and as things heat up, word gets out, then you will get probably more information on weekly updates.
And excuse me, Dr. Leyva, this will be a 30-day
Yes.
opening from when tomorrow is proposed. for 30
Right.
days.
If you approve the profile tonight, we'll start the active recruitment and open up our portal the following day, 4 days. It usually takes a day or 2 to get that going, okay? And we're gonna go over the timeline also. If we can go to the next. So as you can see, we had 3 town halls. We had approximately 15 internal and external stakeholder meetings. You can see we had about 35 individuals in attendance. And then we had some very positive, productive conversations. It's very evident to us as a team that the people we talk to care a lot about your schools. They do care, and they want to be engaged with your schools. And I was really impressed by one of the students I spoke to. I asked him, well, what would you like to see your next superintendent? He said, you know, Dr. Leyva, when I was in kindergarten, the superintendent came over to me and he read to me, and I remember that. So we want somebody that's visible, is what he told me. The other thing that he said to me, he says, you know what, we need more resources for teachers and staff and kids. And that's exactly what you're doing with the attendance. So you're on the right track, and it's good that that one student identified those. So I'll let Dr. Scribner kind of go into the next piece of that.
Thank you. Next slide, please, Jonathan. Thank you all again. It's great to be here. My name is Ken Paredes Scribner, and been a superintendent for many years, and now really excited to help you find your next leader. So this slide just takes 2 excerpts from the data. The first focuses on the qualities, and these were garnered from anonymous surveys. So we asked the community to submit their perspective. A little bit later in the presentation, we'll show you the specific comments and the input on that led into the leadership profile. But first, the qualities, as Dr. Leyva indicated, a community advocate. It's clear that both folks internal and external to your school district love Taos, and we want someone who's connecting with the community. Someone who can make tough decisions and defend those decisions. Someone who's principled and has backbone, because we know as leaders, conflict is the DNA of leadership. If you don't like conflict, you ought not be a leader. To Dr. Leyva's point, also approachable, visible, someone's an experienced educator, and of course, a strong communicator. The lens from which those characteristics emerged in the second slide, there's mostly staff and faculty. Your staff and faculty are engaged in this decision. They express their voice. Current parents and guardians also showed up. Former students, interestingly enough, nice turnout there, as well as parents of former students, and then others. And we did get a little bit of student voice from current students as well. Jonathan? The next slide there. So this is what we were talking about just a moment ago, President Flores, with regard to the timeline. This timeline, you'll remember, was approved by this board in early February, where we had our initial meeting on February the 3rd, kicked off the process that we are reporting to you, reporting on tonight with regard to interviews and community outreach. And to the speaker's point, anyone is a stakeholder, everyone who lives in this community. And I like to refer to it as the school community, because you can't have one without the other. The community is as strong as its schools, and the schools as strong as its community. Tonight, as we review and ask for your suggestions, any modifications or edits that you'd like to see done in a moment when we show you the profile. If all goes well, then tomorrow we will post, and this portal will be open. Marketing and recruiting activities will begin. We'll put that out in publications. I know James Guerra, the owner, the president of JG Consulting, is already investing in publications and in advertisements. The application deadline will close on the 5th. On April the 10th, we will present to you a group of applicants that we have pre-screened. And we will organize those in terms of who we think is in the strongest batch and who also should be considered, and then what group may not be considered. So then you will get to interview on April 15th and 16th, round 1. The following week on the 22nd and 23rd, round 2. And then by the 23rd, be able to communicate with the community, if you choose, who is your next leader at Taos Municipal Schools.
Is this something we?
Sure.
Is this something you guys gonna have for us that we can look at?
It's already posted on the website.
Okay.
But we can get you.
This presentation.
Yeah, the presentation, we're gonna, we already have to Jonathan, I'll make sure to,
Or you
We
can
can
email
understand
it to me and I
And
can
she
get
can
you
email
a
it to us.
copy.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we can do that.
Dr. Scribner, I just have one quick question, going back to the very beginning, when you said the 6 things that you thought were important at
Right.
the beginning, the community advocate, what was number 2? I got all the rest of them.
We'll jump into those a little bit in more detail. The second thing was make and defend decisions.
Nice, thank you.
And so I interpreted that as someone who's principled and can stand by doing the right thing on behalf of kids.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry I missed that one.
Sometimes there's blowback when you try to do the right thing.
Thank you, President Flores.
so let's go to synopsis. Jonathan, please. So this, what we have here is our recommendations to you and our compiling the data that we heard from you as a board that could help you and your new superintendent work together as a team. So this is a point of reference and information for you. We prepare this for our partners. We think it's important that after we've been with your community, your stakeholders, your staff, I visited your high school, I've gone by Arroyo, and I've gone by one of your other schools, eaten in a number of restaurants, and my wife says, hey, you look a little panzón, what you been doing there, buddy? Getting a sense and a feel for your community, and it is a beautiful community and it deserves a quality education. So there are 5 overarching objectives that we suggested when you hire a new superintendent, you have a discussion around these. First of all, we've heard from you that leadership as a board and management proficiency is important to you. We also have heard a commitment to diversity and cultural competency, engagement and collaboration with community stakeholders, a focus on improving student outcomes, and transparency and integrity. These themes have risen through our interviews with you. And as a team, we've kind of sat and compiled them as guides that can help you as you work with your new superintendent to move to the next level. So 2 recommendations that we have as you transition.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
I'm good.
If you remember, we had about an hour interview, hour and a half interview. I think you were with Vice President Spray and interviewed the other candidates. And that's the data that was really critical for us to kind of put it together to help you as a guide. So this summary report is a guide for you.
It comes from you.
Yeah,
Right.
and you can say, well, no, that's not our focus right now, but these 3 points are, okay? So the 2 recommendations that you should consider that your new superintendent should write a 90-day entry plan. What that 90-day entry plan does, there's a number of components. The first component is conducting listening sessions, the very first activity. Concurrent with that is having a retreat with your board to set priorities, expectations, and get to know each other. So that 90-day plan will have listening sessions where the superintendent will go to the community, have individual meetings with you, have individual meetings with board members, with stakeholders and students, parents, compile that information and bring it back to you in the form of a report. This is what I heard from our community. And we've already have a lot of that data in here. But that person and you as a team can use the data sets that we have given you to kind of shape yourself as you go through the future. And also to tie it to your strategic plan. I'm old school. I have all kinds of yellow stickies here.
Oh my
strategic
gosh.
plan, okay? And the thing that caught my eye is Adobe making. I have experience, okay, because my tata had an Adobe house that he built, and my brother and I helped build the bricks. I can remember that. We had a lot of fun in those days, but the strength of and the strength of the analogy you have here, the strengths of the Adobe bricks and the strength of the strategic plan, all this information can be really helpful as you begin to integrate that information. So those are the two basic recommendations that we would have: a retreat and have your new superintendent work on a 90-day improvement plan or 90-day entry plan. And we can also be very helpful in that, since we've written many of those and we've taught prospective superintendents how to write those. And I can say to you that it is a good exercise for the board and the new superintendent to do together. Okay. All right, fine.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Dr. Lewa said, the strategic plan process and doing that work, to me, is the act of taking your time and working together and building relationship and spending time doing that is more valuable than the 8 goals and visions that you put up on the wall. That's nice, it gives you a roadmap, but the activity and the relationships and the time that happens prior to me, that's where the magic takes place, and that's where your relationships get stronger and the community sees you working together on behalf of kids.
And I'm very lucky. I only had 5 board members when I was a superintendent, okay? And this young man had 5, and then he wanted more, so then he had 7, and then he had 9, and finally said, "I've had enough," he retired.
And then I
okay?
don't have hair.
So, I think that we talk from a point of experience that those 2 recommendations can be very helpful for you to develop that relationship, because when times are hard, that trust is what will get you over that hump, and it will create a stronger team that then the whole district can see the morale of the board and superintendent working as a team. Now, it's also, we kind of gleaned a couple of goals that came out of our discussions with you. Of your strategic plan, and I had a good discussion with Ms. Martinez about this is a really good starting point. What I did ask her though is that most strategic plans, you always want to find out, where have we been, where are we, and where do we want to go? Okay, and so I think you lack a lot of data from the past, and I think it's really important to recover some of that data on attendance, achievement rates, enrollment. I noticed that you're down in enrollment from the strategic plan that said you had about 2,200 students down to 1,900 students. It's almost 480 student drop. That's really significant. So that will give you some ideas on how to prepare and how to look at enrollment strategies together. So a few goals here for you to think about. Let's move on, Jonathan. And again, this is just a report. This is information that you will have to glean and through at your own pace.
And we will email this to the superintendent's office, and so you can have it and you can take notes on it, and it may even inform some of the questions that you want to ask in the interview. We just wanted to present it to you in this format first, and then certainly you can write all over yours as we are writing on ours. So kind of breaking out to the point Vice President Spray made about the earlier slide. This is kind of digging down into what made those categories. The first is what the board said. You said you wanted strong leadership, management skills, integrity, honesty, kind of a moral compass, and someone who holds themselves and others accountable. Cultural competence. Cultural competence. Someone who is involved in the community. There's a theme also about connectedness to community, being visible. Openness to innovation. We want to honor the past, but we also want to be more innovative and think of the possibilities that exist out there. Having a background in teaching and administration, someone who's technically sound, but also has experience working with multicultural and diverse communities, particularly Native American education. Prioritization of the strategic plan. You put a lot of work into that. How do we turn that into, again, the magic is in the implementation. How do we take that strategic plan and have it become alive? And that may require revising policies, it may require a different approach to professional development. And then security, we can't, our number one responsibility in education is to keep our students and staff safe, and that has to be a focus. Addressing the challenge of attendance, we just heard about that tonight. Student achievement, student outcomes, graduation rates. Also, preparing students for life after high school, to be college ready, to be workforce ready, to be able to be successful beyond high school. We also want a successful evaluation criteria, evaluation for the superintendent, but also evaluation for staff and evaluation for programs, addressing in attendance, achievement, and curriculum implementation, graduation, teacher development, and there was a big theme around how recruitment and retention really are necessary. Someone who recognizes that there are socioeconomic disparities and being open and honest and transparent, that not every student starts the educational race at the educational starting line. Some have a head start and some are carrying a piano on their back. So we have to create, from the lens of equity, the opportunity for all students to achieve their God-given ability. Understanding and appreciating the multicultural and diverse student body is necessary. So someone who gets what Taos is about. The staff, here's what the staff said. We want to improve communication, both internal and external community. You scroll down a little bit. Sorry about that, Jonathan.
You're doing a
The
good
next
job.
category.
Thank you, staff.
To improve communication, we want a two-way flow of communication. We want to know what's going on, but we also want the leadership to listen to us. To diversify curriculum, to broaden educational offerings, boost graduation rates, implement strategies, again, for college and workforce-ready graduates, to retain teachers. There was also a theme of we are staffed so thin, and again, that's not a Taos thing, it's not a New Mexico thing, it's national. There is a teacher shortage, and but the theme here was that there are programs here that are hanging on by a thread because one person is doing them or had to come out of retirement to do them, and we have to build a succession plan, a pipeline. And in some cases, particularly with regard to bilingual education and multicultural education, our future teachers are sitting in our classrooms today, and we need to take a look at that. A relatable leader, someone who again has that emotional intelligence, the ability to interact with faculty, staff, and community and students. Someone who's a student first focus. Human resources fairness came up. And again, that's also pretty common, that we want to make sure that there is justice and there is fairness in how decisions are made and how people are treated. Embrace the community culture. There it is again, both internal and external. Again, equitable, innovative HR, focusing on fairness, data-driven decisions, respecting the culture, focusing on students amid challenges. There was something here around if a student has difficulties, that a principal needs to support the teacher. And I know that there's multiple kind of perspectives on that with regard to parents' point of view, the student point of view, the teacher's point of view. We have to have a fair and equitable system to make decisions in the best interest of the student long term. Culturally sensitive leadership, you can't do that without being culturally sensitive. And I think all of these things will help boost morale. Someone who is a listener, someone who actively listens and creates systems by which they can listen. Listening is both a science and an art. You have to build a system to do that. Ensuring the initiatives are complete. Sometimes we get enamored with the idea of the shiny new thing. The idea of the day. Sometimes we go to conferences and we come back and say, this is what we need to do. And then 3 months later, someone else goes to a different conference and they say, no, that's what we need to do. And it's kind of a difficult challenge for staff, and it doesn't lead to success in terms of implementing something and sticking to it. A superintendent who's accessible. And another thing came up too, housing. Creating affordable housing for teachers and for students, and working with the city, working with the nonprofits, and working beyond. You can scroll down a little bit. This is still staff, the top portion of this page. Active school involvement, hands-on leadership, problem solver, child-friendly, someone who's a child welfare advocate. Again, addressing attendance issues. It's great that your staff wants the kids in school. They know that they can't be successful unless they are, unless students have reliable, attendance, and we wipe out chronic absenteeism. Streamline investigations. I think this, comes back to the HR piece. If something happens, let's find an efficient way to make a decision one way or the other. Mental health support. Teaching is very, very draining, physically, emotionally, and we need to support our teachers. And then the theme of recognizing our nurses. They do so much for our kids and our families. That's what your faculty and staff said. Finally, the community. You can scroll down a little bit, Jonathan. We recognize that we have a rich, Taos is rich in diversity, and we want to aspire for cultural competency to embrace that diversity. Address absenteeism, again, partnerships with nonprofits. I do think you have a philanthropic community here that we can tap into at a higher level. Requiring innovation over tradition. Now, we need to honor the past, but just as the presenter said earlier, kids prior to the pandemic and kids after the pandemic are different. So if they're different, we need to be different in terms of how we address them.
Under next year, you will have your kindergartners that are coming to you that will have been in COVID teaching for 3 years. And so what challenges are they gonna face that high schoolers didn't face? And so those are the real challenges that the pandemic has created. And so there's a lot, this information is so critical for you as you begin to do your work in the future, because it gives you a quick snapshot. It paints a quick picture of what individuals think of what's happening, and you can see the congruency between all three.
And again, you'll have a copy so you can jot down your notes. Understand the charters. It's a new system in American schools, and we need to engage them. Want students to be job ready, college prepared. I mentioned that. Strong support for student athletes. Also a theme around fine arts. We need to not short shrift those programs as well. Note the challenges in the community involvement, kind of create more, to your point, Trustee Concha, about creating more community schools and being more welcoming in that approach. Strong leadership, effective communication, cultural representation, celebrate achievements. Culture and morale improve when we celebrate. Highlight the need to address racism and representation. Those are cancers that affect our society in the macro level and even the local level. We have to address them and be open and honest about them. Understand and respect cultural diversity and address poverty, foster homelessness, foster kids, homeless children, and addiction with parents, to the point earlier about chronic absenteeism is a kid problem, but it's also an adult problem. And enhance, again, an opportunity to enhance our partnership with nonprofits with higher education and workforce development. Jose?
So we took all these data sets, your interviews, the community, the staff, and what we've gleaned from our trips here. And so we've identified leadership characteristics that will go into the profile that you will see next. So these are some of the leadership characteristics, okay? So proven leadership, executive experience. And I'm gonna go over these again in more in depth. So I'm just gonna go through them really quickly right now. A welcoming culture and morale, a leadership with integrity, cultural competency, community engagement, innovative and student focus. Go ahead, Jonathan, please. Data-driven decisions and local cultural respect, transparent communication. We heard communication consistently. Having educational administrative experience. You want an experienced person. Staffing solutions, finding those innovative and creative solutions to retaining high-quality staff. Because I think we all know that it starts in the classroom. If the teacher is at the door greeting students, guess what? Those students are gonna say, wow, my teacher likes me. If the teacher can't be found and the students wait for 10, 15, 20 minutes until the teacher gets there, what does that say to the student about my teacher? So we have to really cognizant that teachers are so critical in this process. And that's why I think the resources, the training, the staff, and having attendance coaches is, I kudos to you for that. That is a star in your cap. Again, the HR fairness and enhancing resources, financial accountability. So those are the things that we are now going to, you will now see in the profile that we're going to ask you to approve this evening. So the final, go ahead, Jonathan. The final part of the report is just going over the advertising plan, which we discussed with you in the last meeting. So direct recruitment of administrators. We're gonna use our JG Consulting website. We have our own national superintendent's link. We'll use organizations like Texas, but all the other organizations that are out there, New Mexico Administrators Association, New Mexico School Board Association, and mainly target the Southwest. Also the Scoop newsletter and our own website, superintendentsearch.net. So those are the main areas where we will begin the advertising plan. And we can change if you have recommendations. You may say, hey, you know, why don't you, I know we put an ad in the newspaper here, the local newspaper. So we'll make every effort to address any other areas that you feel are important. And that's where the weekly communication between us will be helpful. Okay. So let's go now. This is where we will need your approval, your blessing and approval. So we'll go now to the leadership profile and the actual application itself, what it will look like.
Which is item H2 on yours.
Right. So this is what the application will look like. We've gone to your website and we've pulled your vision statement, your mission statement, and district background. And also a little bit of the district demographics so that whoever is applying can read this information and get a good sense of what your community is like. So that's pretty generic. You can go to the next page.
Could you scroll down on that a little bit though, Jonathan, so we could just.
Oh, yeah.
really- Okay.
Right here. So,
Because this is, we are gonna be approving this, so let's just scroll down slowly if that's okay, so we could just see.
It'd be nice to look that over.
If they
Would you
email
like
it to me, I
Christina
can
to
print
copy?
it.
Is that, says that possible, Dr. Leva?
Yeah.
Just print it,
sure.
give it to Christina and she can give it to us so we can look at it.
I think it'd be, you could go ahead and email it to us, right, printing it, I'm not sure how long that would take, I don't. Wanna complete it?
How many pages is it?
Six. Just like six.
And it's the application, and this is all information taken from your website, okay? So if there's information there that's not current, you need to let us know. We can make those changes. But this is information we took from your website.
Let's go ahead and just go through that while we're here, okay? You want to make that a little bit bigger? That's good, Jonathan.
Okay, so vision statement, inspiring learners to achieve lifelong success through teaching, learning, collaboration, and engagement.
Right from your website.
Mission statement, prepare all students academically, socially, emotionally, and physically to help them develop knowledge, critical thinking skills, and character necessary to succeed in college, careers, the world of work, and beyond. And then your district background, Taos Municipal Schools, you can see, founded by the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, homeland of the Red Willow people within the original Taos Pueblo. You strive to recognize unique and enduring relationship that exists between the indigenous people and their traditional territories. Honor, reconcile, and partner with the Red Willow people whose land, water, and we benefit from this great valley. And it talks a little bit on demographics, approximately 1779 students. How many schools? 3 elementaries, 1 middle, 1 high, 8-12 online, and a cyber magnet school. Oversight of 2 community district K charter schools, elected board, 5 members serving staggered terms. So it's kind of just give people a quick snapshot because most of the applicants are going to go to your website right away and conduct their own research. Okay. All right. Now, this is the most important part that we need your feedback, and we can edit this evening, editing capabilities, both Jonathan and I will be able to edit this Word document. So that, and this is, we condense everything we've heard into one statement that will capture interest nationwide, but primarily in the Southwest. The Taos Municipal School Board of Education seeks an enthusiastic, student-centered instructional leader who respects and engages with the Taoseño diverse cultures, is visible in the community and schools, promotes high academic standards and success for all students, and builds partnerships with the Taos Pueblo community, staff, and the board to address social emotional learning, mental health, societal challenges of the Taos municipal students. So this is your overarching statement. That again, we, as a team, we got together and we kind of drew ideas from you and tried to develop a summary statement that best reflects what you're looking for. So if you have any edits to that, let's go through this and then we'll come back right through it, any edits that you may see or desire. So first one, proven leadership with executive experience. A leader with at least 5 years of executive level of experience, demonstrating strong ethical leadership. Doctoral degree is preferred.
And these, I'm sorry, I was saying, and these bullets come from the 3 pages in the previous document. So we condensed that down and put it in the application.
So you may decide you want only 3 years, or you may say 5 years of executive level experience or its equivalent. So you may decide to do some edits on that.
And what would constitute executive level experience?
Normally, it's assistant superintendent, executive director, manager at the district office. Now, some districts consider their high school principals as in that category, but it's, as a general rule, it's pretty much top level executive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you know, and if you wanted some leeway too, you could turn 2 sentences into one, and preferred would then not only refer to the doctoral degree, could refer to all of them. Or leave it as it is. You know, we will have 5 years of experience. We will have a strong ethical leader, period. A doctoral degree is preferred.
Okay. The next bullet, welcoming culture and morale. Develop a culture that welcomes all, fostering trust and positive morale among the students and staff. If you know why new teachers leave the profession, it's because of the principal and the morale in school. And it's usually after the 5th year.
Yeah, people don't, yeah. They don't quit their job, they quit people. They quit their boss.
It's not necessarily money.
Right.
I mean, obviously that has an impact, but that's a real critical factor. So I'm glad that all of you in our interviews identified that as a critical piece. Okay? Leadership with integrity demonstrates strong ethical leadership and management skills. As you can see from the community, the staff, and your interviews, you can see how we have interjected that into the qualities and traits that you're looking for in the next superintendent. So this is not us saying this is what we want. This is us taking your information, putting it into a format of a profile that will be our recruitment document. And then also this will allow you as a board to build questions from this, and then also to evaluate your candidates on these particular qualities. So we went through leadership with integrity. Cultural competency shows deep respect and understanding of diverse cultural backgrounds, especially with Native American education and the Taos Public School District.
Okay, next one is community engagement. Actively involves community and stakeholders in the education process. Again, this is a Word document, so if you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please share. Innovative and student focused, prioritizes innovative approaches to improve student attendance achievement, graduation rates, and foster and homeless students.
Educational success. Foster homeless.
Yeah, let's see education success. Okay, got it. Good. So there's already been an edit. Great.
I edited that.
Thank you.
I made an edit, okay? I was gonna go, you know, you go over this thing like 20 times and then I said, okay, I gotta look at it one more
And
time.
that's why it's good to give it to, a fresh set of eyes. Data-driven decisions and local cultural respect, utilizing data for student-focused outcomes and acknowledging local heritage. Transparent communication, maintains an open and honest communication, building trust within the community and district. Educational and administrative experience, brings solid background in teaching administration and understanding of multicultural and diverse educational environments. Staffing solutions, this is the succession planning we were talking about earlier. Focuses on attracting and retaining high-quality educators to address staffing challenges. HR fairness and embrace community culture, addressing equitable practices and integrating local traditions. Okay, good. Accountability? Yeah. Okay, we added accountability there. I'll read it off the screen then. Enhancing resources, increases resources available to students and teachers for improved educational outcomes. And finally, financial accountability in these difficult budget times, addresses financial issues with transparency, including implementing a forensic audit.
So that will be the profile that we need your blessing on, and of course, the application, because that will be how we will recruit and how you can also use that information to develop interview questions, potentially for the future, also to, as an evaluation rubric for your next superintendent. There's a multitude of ways that you can utilize this information that's come from you, from your community, your staff, and you as representatives of your community. So this is all legalese that needs to be included in the application process. So a lot of this is conditions of employment, they have to have the proper licenses, the selection process, if you can move up, scroll up, please. Okay, we will keep them confidential. Everything will come through our portal. It's secure and confidential. We've never had it hacked. Because if you know anything about James, he's a tech whiz. I mean, he is on top of technology. I've never seen a president of a company be so knowledgeable and always looking for the next generation, okay, to keep us current. So this is a selection process, remain confidential as extended by law, and we have been in communication with your counsel, legal counsel. I call her Dr. Gallego because I worked with her in the past, and so we call each other doctor and doctor when we have disagreements. And she wins the legal disagreements all the time, okay? So you got a good attorney, don't it? Candidates will be presented to the school board for its consideration and then to conduct additional interviews. First and final interviews will be in closed session. Board public forum will be held with the sum of finalists will be held on a date to be determined. So we will recruit per month, okay? Once we have the application period closed, I would say for usually a district your size, 20 to 25 applications. That's usually been our average for districts your size. What we will do as a team, we independently evaluate each candidate because we have their resume, their cover letter, what phone calls we may make about them. And then we also have videos, which we'll present to you. So Dr. Scribner will be separately evaluated. I will separately evaluate. Dr. James Guerra will separately evaluate to develop some inter-rater reliability. Then we get together and we say, okay, what did you think about who's in your A group, who's in your B group, and who's in your other group? And so we go through a dialogue. Well, why did you select this person for your A group and this person for your B group? So we have that long dialogue. And then we come to a consensus on who we want to present to you. And normally we'll have an A group, a B group, and then the others. However, we work at the will of the board. There may be a candidate down that we did not put in the A or B group, they may be in the C group, and you're gonna say, hey, we want to see this candidate. Okay, well then let's discuss the candidate. What are the pros and cons? Why do you want this candidate? Why did we not select this candidate to move in? And ultimately, it is your decision. But as professionals, this is what we do. We've done over 100 searches. And so we do this on a regular basis.
And there's like 2 degrees of separation, right? Any superintendent in America, there's plenty of people that we all know.
And unlike many other search firms and even your local school board association search services, we provide a video, which is really helpful as you have the data sets in front of you, the cover letter, the resume, any other documents they provide, and the videos. So in executive session, we'll present our A group video, resume, letter. We'll present our B group, and then we'll have dialogue with you if you want to see other candidates. And then we'll walk you through a process that we've used over and over again to begin to narrow those candidates down to the ones that you want to interview your semifinalists in your first round. You may select 3, you may select 5, you may select 7, you may select 8. It's totally up to you as to how many you want to select. So once that first round, you bring them in, you conduct your interview, then you pair them down. We recommend 2 finalists to bring back to the second round. However, again, you may decide to bring 3 back. Okay. And then you conduct your final round, and then you come to a conclusion as to who your finalists will be. Okay. So the rest of this, if you want to scroll through it, is again, it's much, legalese, it's our contact information. Keep going, Jonathan, please. Now, one of the things we do ask is we ask applicants not to have contact with the board. You hired us to help you with this process, and so we ask, if you have questions, contact us. Okay, because you don't want to ever, you need the fidelity to the process. I'm a process person, he's a process person, that's why he's successful in 3 different districts. I was successful as a superintendent and a college president, because we align and adhere to processes.
So contact us in regards to the application process?
Yeah, correct.
Correct.
In the context of the application process, right?
And here are the search activities. As you can see, again, the timeline, we will include this, this is included in the application for the candidates to see and understand what the timeline is. So if I'm a candidate,
Hold on. Back up your slide.
you wanna go back a little? If I'm a candidate from Peñasco, or if I'm a candidate from here, or from some other community, I'd like to know when I have to be available if I make it to the next round.
Go ahead and scroll up, Jonathan.
So these are some of the activities we've already done.
I mean down, sorry. My bad. Up, down, forget it.
So this is what we're doing tonight, we're saying the formal scope of work, which you saw in the summary, and then a preliminary job profile for your approval. And then, how we're going to do our recruitment plan. And so if you approve this profile that we have for you in this application, then we would open the portal, begin marketing and recruiting. Here you go, local, state, regional, national publications, other education publications, websites, campaigns. You see the application deadline. And then we review the candidates with you. And these are the dates you selected in our first meeting. You all looked at your calendars and you selected these dates. So if we need to make any changes, let us know. So there you see round 1, public forum to be determined, and round 2 in closed session. And then you deliberate on your lone finalist's name. So that basically is the process. Now here's some other verification forms that we require the applicants to fill out. Go ahead and scroll up, keep going, scrolling slowly. These are just legal questions that they have to answer for us.
And we do comprehensive background checks. If there's anything in the individual background, we'll know about it and we'll share it with you.
And the other thing is that normally when we have individuals, let's say you select 6 semifinalists to come in the round 1 interviews. When we call them, we have individual conversations with them, and one of the questions we ask is, do you have anything in your background that could impact the ability of the board to do its business or have a negative impact on the school district? So basically, do you have any skeletons in your closet?
Any surprises?
Okay. And we're dealing with one right now that came up. And I think we've successfully overcome that. A lot of dialogue, meetings with legal counsel. But we're here as your resource. So
And meeting with that board.
Yeah.
And we met with that board about this one finalist, said you have a couple finalists, here's a situation that we want you to know about before you move forward.
So our goal is to give you as much information as possible for you to make the decision. So for example, during the time when you had your interviews, we don't sit in on the interviews. And I always get questions, board members, and I said, what do you think? What do you think? I said, I don't think. Okay, I provide the information and allow you to make your informed decision with as much data as possible. Okay. Keep going, Jonathan. So as you can see, these are legal questions that are asked by most organizations.
Okay.
Okay, and also they authorize us to make investigations and inquiries.
Okay.
So once they sign this and we do the background checks, we can pick up the phone and say to anybody in the country with our contacts, basically. And I'm very proud to say that we can pick up the phone and speak to individuals. What do you think about such and such candidate? What do you know about them?
Go ahead and scroll, keep scrolling down, please.
And again, this is verification that, when they sign off, they have to make sure that they will disclose anything. And they authorized us to contact past employers, or anyone else. So we go beyond if we need to. We have a red flag that comes up in a discussion, or even among us, sometimes go, you know, something's up with this candidate. Why have they moved so much? Or why is this missing? The three of us, our light bulbs go on, our antennas come up, and then we begin a further investigation. And that's why we have that in there, that we can talk to anyone else. And these candidates have to sign off on that.
Whatever we find, we share with each one of you.
And then they sign the application.
That's the last page.
Could we go back to,
The profile,
the profile real quick, so we could just, look at that, see?
because we can make edits on that
I
profile.
wanted to see about possibly adding something
Page
there.
2, I think.
Um, That's right there, so, proven leadership with executive experience, a leader with, so a doctoral degree is preferred, but does not exclude an applicant.
Right.
Welcoming culture and morale, develop a culture that welcomes all, fostering trust and positive morale among staff and students. Leadership and integrity. I kind of wanted to see something, and I don't know how it'd be worded, in regards to, there on the innovative and student focused, prioritizes innovative approaches to improve student attendance achievement, graduation rates, and educational success of fostering homeless children.
Scroll down a little bit, John.
I kind of, in my mind, I saw something that like had something to do with like curriculum or something that, and I don't know that it needs to be added on there, but, the implementation of, or, you know, so we're talking about attendance, achievement, graduation rate, educational success, that kind of covers it there. But through the implementation of a, you know, kind of, you know, so how are we gonna get the achievement, graduation rates and educational success? I think, you know, obviously through, I don't know if it needs to be added, but
Yeah, so maybe build out, if I may, President Flores.
please.
So you're focused on the bullet, innovative and student focused. So prioritizes innovative approaches. Approaches is pretty broad.
Okay,
Approaches and, to your point, about, you know, curriculum or instruction or something like that.
I would like to see like prioritize innovative approaches
In curriculum?
and curriculum.
And curriculum?
Yeah, and curriculum.
And or in curriculum?
And curriculum. What do you guys think? Well, you know, the curriculum is obviously.
Yeah, and curriculum.
And curriculum, yeah, so innovative approaches and innovative curriculum.
Right.
Mhm.
So I'd like to see curriculum in there.
I'm adding that as you speak, because I have the Word document here. Okay,
That was
so-
kind of
And-
one
and-
thing that stood out to me, you know, because
Good call.
that's the focus is a good innovative curriculum, you know, that'll get us to achievement graduation rates. Please, sir.
What if we did this? What if we flipped it? Prioritizes innovative curriculum and approaches,
I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
you know,
there you go. Yeah.
because approaches is kind of broad, curriculum
Yep.
is
Specific.
Okay, done.
Yeah, good
Innovative
job.
curriculum.
Let's see it.
Okay.
Teamwork.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so data, utilizing data for student-focused outcome and knowledge. Heritage, maintaining economics, trust. Couldn't, thank you, Jonathan. Something I'd like to see there, on
Which one are you
staff-
on, President?
staffing solutions, you know, professional development.
Okay,
If we could add something, focusing on attracting, retaining high-quality educators to address staffing challenges and continued promotion of professional development among staff. You know, I want to see somebody that's not just gonna come in and attract and retain, but also somebody that's gonna continue to build our teachers.
Yeah, so may I?
Please.
Staffing solution focuses on attracting, comma, retaining. I don't like and professional developing, but,
Well,
something like that.
well, that's it's kind of a given, just, I mean, President, but the professional development and superintendent once you're going can comment, that's kind of a given for the staff, but
Well, not always, to some extent, because so my experience being here 11 years, we've continued to build upon professional development. With all due respect, it really wasn't, we've added stuff, you know, in there. And I just want,
it wasn't always there.
yeah, it wasn't always there to some extent, you know, it really wasn't. So go back to the superintendent, I'm not gonna name names, but prior to, you know, Dr. Torres, and then Dr. Torres came on board and we started building upon professional development through her tenureship, and then it's carried along. I just think that we should have this and develop. I'm not, someone that's coming on board isn't just gonna say, hey, we're gonna hire and, I'll do whatever to do to keep
Yeah.
you. We also wanna see you grow
Right.
professionally. You wanna,
Right, the criticism is we hire somebody, we give them the keys and say, you're in, room 17,
yes,
see you at Christmas. Right.
yeah.
And so if we can assume the teachers are professionals, which I certainly think we can, we should, they are, then maybe we say staffing solutions focuses on attracting, retaining, and developing high-quality
Yeah,
educators
that's.
to address staffing challenges.
Perfect.
I like that, yeah.
See, I brought it for a reason, okay?
God, you're really good at this.
Cause we want to continue to.
It's my birthday. Let me reread that, so, let me reread that, okay, before going further. Staffing solutions focuses on attracting, retaining, and developing high-quality educators to address staffing challenges.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, well,
President Flores.
please.
Mine is in the financial accountability. To me, what is real important is knowledge of the financials of the school, of the district. And that includes the budget, the preparation of budgets, and procurement, and because that's actually the backbone of any institution, is how the finances are accounted for.
Mhm.
So to me, that, I don't know how you would word that, but to me,
Maybe you can put budgetary, addresses budgetary, or in financial issues.
and to me, I had used the word a CEO, which is a CEO is a manager of a system. And plus, they have to be able to run it financially, and then they have to run it the education part. But this CEO needs to be able to address all the financial issues that pertain to a school system. And that means the budget, that means the payments, that means procurement, that means every level of
One word that I really like, and I actually got familiar with it because I researched it, is fiduciary, you know, somebody that's fiduciary, you know, that they guard the finances, with utmost integrity. I'm not sure if that would be the word there, but, you know, that's somebody who we're looking for that takes, prioritizes the financial, stability, accountability within the district. I don't know, I might want, I agree.
Fiduciary.
If I might, President Flores, fiduciary is the over global, because you have a fiduciary responsibility as board members. And
Yes.
likewise, so does the superintendent, has fiduciary responsibilities to, evaluate their CFO or their assistant super for business and finance, and to ensure that they are following all the proper policies and procurements. So that fiduciary responsibility can permeate on down through the system. I think, Dr. Scribner might have found a solution.
I mean, kind of, go ahead.
When you say fiduciary responsibility of the superintendent, going back a little bit, you know, we had a past experience where the superintendent did not really focus on the financial responsibilities, or they kind of just let things run. And I really would want to see somewhere there where it addresses that the superintendent is not just gonna say, oh, we have a finance director, and they're handling things just fine. No, I want somebody that's gonna
Oversee it.
oversee and ensure that that's being.
That's the CEO. That's the CEO. They are responsible for what the financial people do, what everybody else, everybody does, but especially the financials of the entity. And that's because they work hand in hand. They work hand in hand with them.
What about addresses financial issues with transparency and fiduciary responsibility?
See what you came up with.
I mean, addresses financial issues for me is a little bit soft.
Yeah.
You know, it's milk toast, right?
Yeah.
So, and I like the word fiduciary, because that's more than just money.
Mhm.
That's people, that's all of it, it's legal, the law.
Right.
So I was gonna say, start, financial accountability is a good word too. I was gonna say assumes the fiduciary responsibility, or we could say accepts. You know, I accept responsibility, because sometimes superintendents say, hey, it's not me, it's CFO.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it's accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget with transparency, including implementing performance about it. I'll
Accepts
I'll say it
the
again.
fiduciary responsibility.
Accepts the fiduciary responsibility, this is a suggestion, the board decides. Accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development, because you gotta build the budget before you implement, the development and implementation of the district's budget, or the district budget.
And execution.
I mean, implementation or execution, whichever one you like.
Okay.
With transparency, including, we use implement twice, including conducting a forensic audit. But the superintendent's not gonna conduct a forensic audit.
No, I think, and also with the forensic audit, I don't think
that
we
has
really
a
need to
place.
put that there.
Okay,
Because, we're undergoing a forensic audit. I think that, you know, it's due to
The board will vote for that if we need it again.
hopefully close soon. Yeah, and a forensic audit could actually scare people away. It's actually very scary. It hasn't been a joyful ride, to be honest with you.
okay, yeah, then I'm gonna give you the word financial back. We're gonna say this, I'm gonna suggest this, excuse me. Accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget with transparency and financial integrity.
Perfect. Susan, do you like it?
Transparency and
Financial integrity. Like they're not gonna have sticky fingers.
That should have been actually the very first requirement.
Yeah.
Move it up from the bottom. No, I'm
And we can
kidding.
move it up if you want,
I'm
yeah.
teasing
Yeah.
you.
okay, let me reread it, because what we're gonna do right now is that as soon as I finish this, I will send Christina a copy. We can take a quick break while she runs copies of that, so you can have that, and that would be your official approval. Okay, let
Nice to
me
look
get
at
it.
it, yeah, I like that.
Okay. Okay, let me read this, okay. Financial accountability accepts a fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget with financial transparency and financial integrity, so.
Okay, well, I was gonna say with transparency and financial.
With
Yeah.
transparency and
And
financial
financial integrity.
integrity. Okay, one more time. Accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget with transparency and financial integrity. Wow, that's pretty good.
Good.
But it's not, can I add to that? It's not just the budget, it's the, all the monies that come in, because there's a budget, but there's also all the revenue that comes in, all these grants, everything that goes with it. So it's just, being accountable for the whole.
Is it
The money
operational?
that goes in and the money
Is
that
that a
comes
word?
out. comes out.
Finances, revenues, finances.
Well, I think,
Well,
remember, this is a recruitment document.
Right, we don't want to spell it all out.
Yeah, because you can, I mean, we can wordsmith this and we'll come up with 5 different things, but what we want to do is we want to capture the essence of what you think is important, and I think you really did a really good job on this, because it accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget. When I think budget, I think grants, Title I, Title VII,
Yeah.
maintenance and operation, I think of, capital, bonds. So I think of it as a
But see,
whole.
there's the budget part, but there's also the distribution of the monies and, that go with it. You know, there's, the financial, it's the budget and financial, what word could I use?
Well, there's expenditures, there's the revenue.
Yeah,
there's
yeah, but the financial, execution or, the financial,
Budget and finance?
the budget and finance.
Yeah.
Yeah. the
Or budget and
finance.
finances?
Yes, the budget and finances.
Yes,
There you go.
yeah, there you go.
So accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget and finances
Mhm.
Yes,
And finances, yes,
With transparency.
with transparency and financial integrity.
yes, there you go.
Okay, let me read it again. Financial accountability accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget and finances with transparency and financial integrity.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
I know you stopped chewing
So
on your fingers.
why
already.
don't, can you go ahead and send that to Christina?
Okay.
She'll print it out for us. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda at this time and move items H2, 3, and 4 to come after a new business.
Didn't we already do two?
So we haven't made action.
Oh, gotcha.
So what I'm, so that way we could address Mr. Fred,
We still have number 5. Are you on number 5 also?
no, 5, we could just, it's just a quick motion. I have.
Okay.
And 6 is, it's in the packet for review, and then we can move on to new business. So at this point in time, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda. And move items H2, 3, and 4 to fall after new business. And the agenda we will also keep item H5 and 6 on old business, which we will address immediately. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
So we have a second.
That okay with the birthday boy?
Yeah, we're gonna be real quick, because the other ones we're gonna move through. We're gonna move through the other ones. Yeah, roll call, please.
Member Concha,
Yes.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Okay, so Christina, we need you to make some copies, but I wanted to continue on with the meeting. Could you take some notes for her?
Yes.
I can vote. I can vote the mayor.
So, item H5
Sorry.
is appoint one volunteer member who is a parent of a student attending the district to serve on the audit committee. At our last meeting, it was asked of myself to reach out to Pascual Maestas to see if he would be willing to serve on the audit committee. I did speak with Mr. Maestas, and he is more than happy to serve on the audit committee as a parent of a student attending the district. So with the board's approval by vote, at this point in time, I would like to make a motion to appoint Pascualito Maestas, Mayor Maestas, to serve on the audit committee as a parent of a student attending the district.
Second?
We have a second from Vice President Cynthia. Can you please get a roll call?
Member Concha,
Yes.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. And Mr. Quintana, if you don't mind just coming up over here real quick, we have a memorandum of, so item H6 is a memorandum of agreement between the County of Taos and the Taos Municipal School District. If you could just give us a brief summary of the memorandum of agreement.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Flores. Good evening, Superintendent Morgan and board members. It's a memorandum of understanding between the Taos Municipal Schools and Taos County Ambulance. And it's to provide some of our students with the opportunity to go on ride-alongs with the ambulance. So it's giving students who are interested in going into the medical field or specifically being first responders or EMS workers the opportunity to get firsthand experience and be able to witness what it'd be like on a day-to-day basis.
I think that's a great opportunity for our students. Has this
Mhm.
been practiced before?
It was pre-COVID. Yeah, so, it's a little before my time in the high school, but it has been done before. Now that things are starting to open up a little bit, we're starting to see a little bit more opportunities in the medical field for our students.
Great.
Which is really exciting because we do have a lot of students who are interested in that.
Awesome, okay. Well, definitely, it's almost, I don't see why we wouldn't vote to approve it. Superintendent Wondrick, do you have a recommendation on the memorandum of agreement between County of Taos and Taos Municipal Schools?
Yes, President Flores, members of the board, I recommend approval of the memorandum of agreement between the County of Taos and the Taos Municipal School District.
We have a recommendation. The board would like to entertain a motion. Anybody? So I will make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between Taos County and Taos Municipal Schools District as presented by Mr. Richard Quintana and recommended by our superintendent.
Second?
We have a second from Vice President Cynthia. Could you please get a roll call?
Member Concha,
Yes.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Thank you for your patience and your time tonight.
And thank you guys.
Appreciate all your
Nice
work.
to see you.
I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. The kids will be very excited.
All right, great. Okay, Mr. Cisneros, got you up next. Item I is new business. I1 is a standard form of agreement between owner and design builder, Winters Construction. Standard form agreement A141-2014 and AIA standard form of agreement A141-2014. Exhibit B, and I'll go and turn it over to Interim Superintendent as a presenter and,
President Flores, members of the board, we had met with our auxiliary committee team and reviewed the agreement document and have it here before you for signature. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Cisneros so that he can walk us through it a little bit more. And then we also, I believe we have, do we have Mr. Chambers on the?
You should
be on
Yes,
there.
he is. Mr. Chambers is also on so that he can help provide some more information for the school board.
So basically what you have in front of you is just a standard agreement from, it's an AIA agreement. It's an architectural agreement. What it's doing is asking the board or the district to sign off, and that's signing off, giving Winters Construction, the build design group to start the process on starting our design for the new auxiliary gym wrestling room. We met the other day, went over a few issues. One of the concerns was that the additional money that was trying to get allocated for this project, and I think we got wording that we were getting the additional money. So we had to turn it, and put it into the new contract with the additional money. I think I gave Renetta it's an Excel file that was provided by the architects. It's a breakdown of how the money is gonna be allocated and stuff. If you guys wanna look at that real quick. So the contract you're signing is basically just an agreement to say that we are acknowledging Winter Construction and the Build Design Group to get started on this project. Once we get a set of plans, or design, done up, then we will have another contract that will say, from that point, we'll have a quote from, Winters Construction itself on the actual construction costs to build this building. And from that forward, there'll be, another quote. We have right now a Gordian quote. This is from Gordian and CES, already done, for $211,866.07. to start the actual design phase of the construction project.
Okay, so, just for clarification, so this is, you guys do need some action from the board. And the action would be, to approve, the agreement between the owner and design builders, which is Winters Construction, to move forward with, the design phase
Yes.
of this. And with the budget that, we have here, what's the total budget numbers? Is that,
So the total allowed budget that we had in hand was, is 3.5, and we got another 1.5 allocated to us. And if you look at the breakdowns, the way they figured it, it's $5.5 million, sorry. With a 1% of, arts is 50,000, that brings us down to, 4.95 million. And then with the soft costs taken out, your total actual construction budget is 3.807692. That's for actual building of the building.
Can you repeat that last number, please?
The last number, the 3,000, or 3.807
Got it.
692.31.
Thank you.
These are too big of numbers, I'm not used to speaking.
They are big numbers, and I just was pointed out that it's on the other sheet I was
Yeah,
looking at.
So yeah, there's two sheets.
Thank you.
The first sheet just kind of shows how it gets started, and then the second sheet, you know, gets the rest of it broken down in the percentage and the way they figure their fees out, what our soft cost is, and the starting of the soft cost budget, you know, alone in just GRTs, you're almost $340-some thousand in just GRTs. And then there's a list of additional costs that can be incurred that will be taken out of the actual soft costs.
okay, I know that we have, yes, sir, Board Member King.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Fred,
Fred.
Cisneros.
Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
you said so. A little late. Was this given to any other company for a bid?
So it went up to RFP, we never got anybody in RFP, and then we went through CES. As a committee, we had, you know, a long foregoing of committee meetings, and we brought in a total of 3 individual candidates, through CES. We interviewed them, as a committee, we did an interview process, and as a committee, we did we reviewed them all, and we chose, Winter Construction, a build group design.
So you talked to 3, I said roughly, Mr.
I thought we had 4, didn't we have 4 initially, counting?
I think it was,
top three.
LDG Design, it was Winters Construction, and it was, McLean and you, I
Yeah.
believe. There were supposed to be 4, but I don't think the 4th one showed up.
That's right, that's right.
Where were
President
these,
Flores.
are these guys at Albuquerque or?
These guys right here,
Aztec.
the contractor's out of Farmington, the architect's out of Albuquerque.
Okay, Superintendent, Board has this statement.
President Flores, if I may address, Board Member King, back in November, we had presented this before the school board. Winters Construction was what the committee had decided to go with, so, this is a continuation of that, trying to move the process along.
Yeah, that was at the end of the year, right?
It was in November.
Yeah,
November.
It was back in
So I was
November, we chose.
before, yeah.
Yes.
I remember you coming, I guess it was December, where is it, December you came?
Maybe, I'm not.
He slept since-
We've been up here a few times, and we're trying to get the ball rolling and groundbreaking. I mean, we're hoping for a March groundbreaking, but we're still here in the early phases of design because of a few things that have happened, but I mean, we're trucking along, the architects, you know, patiently waiting, and they're excited to get started, so is a contractor, and by picking a build group design, it kind of makes the process go a little faster, because we have contractor and design group working together. Normally you would have an architect draw up a set of plans, and then we have to go on another search for 2 or 3 a month or so, looking for a contractor to build this building. Now we have contractor and design group in one, so the contractor's giving advice to the designer, yes, do this, or no, maybe not do this, and do this. So when the design's already done, the contractor already knows what it's technically gonna be, and the ball can get rolling a lot faster.
President Flores, if I may also, one of the back and forth that we have had and why we brought it up to this date is the square footage. That was a concern of the committee. We wanted to make sure that we honored the requests of the committee to make sure that it was a 10,000 square foot facility, and that the architect and the contractor did understand that that's what we were looking to build. So we did get this late, and I had our attorneys look over it again, but we did have the 10,000 square foot put into the agreement.
Okay.
Now, as you guys all know, I mean, construction costs and construction right now is through the roof, so the design group and the contractor are gonna try to meet our needs to try to get us to the, you know, closer to the 10,000 square foot square footage that we just, you know, originally, you know, asked them for. But I mean, until we start making designs and start drawing up stuff and prices start coming in, we won't know exactly, but that's what they're shooting for.
If I could just add and share with the board, so the district was very blessed and lucky to receive state legislative funding through the governor's office in the amount of, I believe, $3.5 million. So the governor signed off, giving us money from her office, from the state legislature, to build this facility. So it's been, there's no other way that it can't be spent any other way. And then this legislative session, the school, the district, our lobbyists, members of the community lobbied to the governor for some additional funding, which is sitting on her desk for signature. It's in an amount of $1.5 million to help us meet this 10,000 square foot building. So right now, so just to give some history, that's where we're at. We're on the cup of receiving another 1.5 million from the governor, which would bring us to this $5 million amount here, which through our approval tonight, through the presentation by Mr. Cisneros and our superintendent, needs an action item to approve the budget and
It's to approve the agreement between
The
the,
original contract,
Yes.
the contract signed, that gives the contractor and the building design group, you know, acknowledgement that we are strong on going with that. You know, they're not gonna spend any money out of pocket or do anything out of pocket or go any further till they have some kind of written commitment through the district that we are using there.
And if I could just lean to Vice President Cynthia, if she wishes, she's been a member of this committee, if you have anything that you would like to share or address, because you've been familiar with some of this process.
No, but I can tell you something, we've dotted every I and crossed every T in these groups. We've just been, every concern everyone has, we double check to make sure when they bring up their concern that they're good with it. I mean, we really have done a good job.
So this morning or this week, there was a rough draft done, and I think interim superintendent, Mondragon had submitted it to attorneys. It came back from attorneys saying everything looked good and kosher, and at 5:30, I got that original draft done by the architects for our signing.
President
To be
Flores,
able to get done this.
so for tonight, what amount are we voting on for tonight?
So.
For the architecture part?
right now, we're not voting for an amount. Right now, we're voting to sign the agreement between ourselves and the architect company. We haven't formally signed anything with them. Our initial in November was just us agreeing that we were gonna go with this company. And now this is the agreement to say that, okay, now we can move forward and start the work.
Okay,
So it's, I guess, the execution of the design build.
Right.
all right. My only concern that I brought up with President Flores earlier was the 3.4 million or 3.5 is already it's already there in the bank.
Yes.
The other one, the governor was supposed to sign today, but I didn't get confirmation from her office that she had signed yet. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't commit that 1.5 million until we know that that's been signed, so we could maybe approve it contingent on that signature. if that works for people. And I don't know, President Flores, you might not have that concern.
I don't have that concern because
You're
we,
sure we're gonna get it?
yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get it from the governor.
Okay,
But we would,
we're gonna be selling your truck if we need the money raised.
I ran up and down at the legislature for a couple days,
Okay, if you feel secure about it, I just was gonna be responsible fiducial agent,
so I guess, so
fiduciary agent.
the motion would need to be, to approve the standard form of agreement between owner and design builders, Winter Construction. That's what we're here to approve, the agreement between them. And I guess what we could approve would be, the wording that you had, the contingent,
I'm gonna just text Steve.
We can make it contingent.
Yeah,
so,
let's do that.
so we have a budget of $5 million. And the contingency would be that upon the governor's approval of the extra 1.5 million
Capital outlay.
of capital outlay.
You feel good about that? I do too. Yeah.
Because if we don't, receive the 1.5 million within the next couple of days or a week, for any unknown reasons, I don't see why the governor won't sign it, because she's already committed to it, and we've been given, through our channels, her commitment. Then we might have to go back to the drawing board for the, instead of the 5 million, it would still be the 3.5. And then we would have to possibly, work that out. But this just gives our architects
Yes.
and the committee, the ability to move forward to start that process. And within the day or so, we should have signature of giving us that funding.
A green light.
A green light. The board.
So there's gonna probably be a few steps, from the architectural committee. I mean, we're gonna do a kickoff party, we're gonna do a few things. I mean, if you guys are anticipating that we'll get an answer within the next 3 or 4 days, I mean, I think that's gonna be fine. We don't want them to start drawing a design that's on a $5 million budget or a $3.8 million budget, and then come to find out we don't have that money, and then they have to start, redesigning or redoing something else. But I think with signing this, getting it signed so they can get started on something, come and start doing a kickoff party. That kickoff party is gonna incorporate the committee, and them to start getting ideas of what they want, what we wanna see, what our expectations are on the gym, all that stuff, so they can start, planning out.
So there's nothing in here that talks about budgetary matters, so I don't want to bring that into the motion. So I'm just gonna go ahead and with the board's consent by vote, to make a motion. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to approve item I1 of new business for the board to approve the standard form of agreement between owner and design builders, Winter Construction, standard form agreement A141-2014, and AIA standard form agreement A141-2014. It says exhibit B here, so I'm gonna include exhibit B.
So exhibit B is just the standard, insurances, bonds, and everything that the contractor and the designers have. And what they're bringing to the table as their insurance. If there's more than we need or want, we try to address them, but I looked through them and they're pretty standard on what their insurances are and their bonding is all that.
Our attorneys reviewed it as well.
Okay. So with that, I have a motion. It's been legally reviewed and through discussion with our superintendent. I guess let me back up real quick. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
President Flores and members of the board, I recommend approval of the standard form of agreement between owner and design builder Winters Construction, standard agreement form A141-2014, and AIA standard form agreement A141-2014 Exhibit B.
And with that, I already stated my motion, so move to approve. Can we get a second?
Second.
Member Concha, the second. Can we please have a roll call?
Member Concha,
Yes.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Before you leave, Mr. Cisneros, I want to thank you for diligently working on this project and overseeing it. It's a very important project, something that's long overdue. You know, it's going to provide a space for our wrestling program along with some of our other athletic programs, but may be able to utilize that in between. So it's just very important for our students. So thank you for that. Thank you, sir. And thanks for staying here so long. Okay, so we had an amendment to the agenda. At this time, we'll go ahead and move back to item H2. To review, and I believe get those copies or no?
You okay, we'll pass them out?
I pass out the one pagers? and
Yeah. Should we go one picture?
I didn't-
I pass it to member Concha.
Oh, Susan, you have it
What?
right here.
Oh,
You can pass it.
oh, I thought it was on mine.
I got it. You wanna go this way?
Just
Fred?
one.
No, you just
Yeah,
wanna go
this
this
way.
way.
Fred, what is your work cell phone? I'll let you know when I find out about that signature.
575
Mhm.
770
There's another one.
1995.
Thank you. I'll let you know.
Good night, guys.
Night,
Good night.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
So just to confirm real quick, so the proven leadership with executive experience, so in conversation, executive level experience, I just would like to be clear with that. That refers to somebody holding a directorship.
I would say so.
Director, executive director, associate sue, deputy sue, assistant sue,
Yeah, and there's so many different kinds of organizational charts out there in the world, right?
chief academic officer, chief HR officer, chief financial officer. Those are all considered executive level.
Okay.
Yep.
But is the board,
A question? I don't know if you want to put it in regards to equivalent. Do you want something like that?
so I kind of have a concern with the 5 years, and I would prefer to see 3 years, which would at least open the door up to some additional candidates. I feel, I mean, if they have 5, 10 years experience, they're gonna float to the top. But, you know, with something like that, I would like to make a recommendation to the board to move that from 5 years to 3 years. You know, of course, invite conversation, or the equivalency. Because you're gonna have people that, let's say, have been in a position of associate superintendent maybe for 3 years from somewhere, and they're gonna wanna apply for 5 years. I would like to make that argument.
President Flores,
Yes.
you guys, what is customary when you do these? In terms of years of experience?
It ranges from 3 to 5, or its equivalent, or usually
I would
terms.
say
that are
5 words
used.
equivalent. Because someone that hasn't worked 3 would, I don't know.
Well, you know, when we hired Dr. Torres, she had served 2 years as superintendent with Cuesta before she came here, and she served here for 7 years. Valerie Trujillo, who was our previous superintendent, served as superintendent at Cuesta Schools for roughly approximately, I think, 2 or 3 years, and then came here with in the service associate superintendent. So what is the board's? What is the board?
I think because I was interested in seeing the numbers, we're kind of going this way a little bit. Is this correct with our enrollment of the kids right now? Yeah, because we know because of housing. I think I think what you're saying, President Flores, we, you know, being in Taos, we have to be flexible. You know, this is a very mercurial community, you know, so I'd rather have an applicant that we then decide versus someone says, oh, I don't have that 5 years. So I like the idea of having 3.
I think it's more inviting. I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna filter out.
Yeah, it's gonna, ultimately it will rest with the board, but at least, we want to get as many applicants and then we can take it from there, yeah. I like that idea, 3. 3 or equivalent. As far as executive, what was it?
3 doesn't need to be equivalent.
No, I say regards to.
Or we could
3
say
years or
preferred 5
executive
years.
level or equivalent, as far as if someone, as you alluded to, Dr. Leyva, the various different administrative leadership positions that someone can be in, and it's like, well, is this, am I?
So this is only, so first, I believe that there's always somebody coming through the ranks, that's aspiring, that is working on their experience, to exclude a motivated individual, somebody that is aspirational. So I think dropping the years from 5 to 3 doesn't do any harm to anything. It opens the door a little bit to welcome a wider pool. But at the same time, the board is gonna review every single candidate. And so, if we're just looking for somebody that has an extreme amount of experience, if that's what the board wants, then we will see that. But I also believe that we may have some young budding professional that has served at, let's say, 3 years as an associate superintendent somewhere, or has served maybe 3 years with another district and has done well. I just don't want to close the door on potential, potential, people have potential.
So you're suggesting, I'm sorry, go ahead. You're suggesting leaving the sentence the same, just changing 5 to
Yeah.
3, okay.
I agree to 3, because I think by the time they've experienced 3 years, they have a good foundation, a good solid understanding of what it would take to come into that role. That's fine.
I don't think we're lowering the bar on our expectations. I think we're just
Yes,
allowing
I
a
think-
wider pool and their experience through their,
Yeah, but that's experience, at least the 3 years experience.
so I'll give a personal example. I applied to work at Taos County as a facilities director with the limited experience that I had back in 2008. I went through a very rigorous application process where I was interviewed by county directors, the county commission, and I was narrowed down to one of the 3 final applicants. My experience was minimal, but I was given the opportunity to work at Taos County. I happened to be able to serve there for 10 years as their facilities director. And with that experience, has allowed me to go professionally to where I'm at right now as a town of Towson's facilities director. And so I think sometimes when you minimize, someone's experience and or so forth, then you close the door on what I believe is potential, and there's a lot of potential that people have. So, with that, I would like to, so we're gonna approve this, so let's go through each one real quick.
Okay, so proven leadership with executive experience, a leader with at least 3 years of executive level.
Experience in the string strong ethical leadership, and doctoral degree is preferred.
So a leader with at least 3 years of executive level experience.
Yeah, get rid of words.
Okay. So a leader with at least 3 years of executive level experience. Right?
Right.
President Flores,
Yes.
members of the board?
At least 3.
Yeah, well, minimum, 3, and that's the, administrative, associate superintendent, superintendency.
And the rest of the sentence stays the same?
Yes,
And then sentence 2, doctoral degree is preferred.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I see your copy?
Sure. Sure, I just wrote on it. That's all.
Sorry, typing error here. Okay, you got it. Yeah, you got it.
I might have to when he's having an allergic reaction, that my dad's been monitoring, but he probably wants me to take him to.
Okay,
Cost.
so we have, you kind of looked through this and.
Yeah, I think I'll.
We saw the demonstration up there. So. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But if you need anything, text me.
Okay.
I'll just be over there.
Okay, well, that makes good.
Thank you. Just monitor.
Would you be comfortable, maybe, for the sake of time, taking this, I'm more than happy to get into that and go over some stuff with the board. I know you mentioned the possibility of a session at the next meeting. It's still gonna- Regarding this
Thank you.
matter.
Need your guidance.
So, my sister will have a ride, I think this is.
President Flores, we just made that change on that.
Thank you. And, yeah.
Essentially, on the back.
Board, they're gonna continue with the reading of this.
You want to read out loud? Want me to read out loud?
Yeah, I could go ahead and read it out loud.
Okay, good.
So welcoming culture and morale. Develop a culture that welcomes all, fostering trust and positive morale among staff and students. Leadership with integrity. Demonstrate strong ethical leadership and management skills. Cultural competency. Shows deep respect and understanding of diverse cultural backgrounds, especially with Native American education and the Taos Pueblo. Community engagement actively involves community and stakeholders in the education process. Innovative and student focused, prioritizes innovative curriculum and approaches to improve student attendance, achievement, graduation rates, and educational success of foster and homeless students. Data-driven decisions and local cultural respect, utilizing data for student-focused outcomes and acknowledging local heritage. Transparent communication, maintains open, honest communication, building trust within the community and district. Educational and administrative experience, brings a solid background in teaching, administration, and understanding of multicultural and diverse educational environments. Staffing solutions, focuses on attracting, retaining, and developing high-quality educators to address staffing challenges. HR fairness and embrace community culture. Addressing accountability, equitable practices, and integrating local traditions. Enhancing resources, increases resources available to students and teachers for improved educational outcomes. Financial accountability, accepts the fiduciary responsibility to oversee the development and implementation of the district budget and finances with transparency and financial integrity. Board Member King.
Just on, I said the transparency communication, maintain open, honest communication. So that's, let's see, if you go from the bottom up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Transparent communication.
Yeah, communication. I checked, the last 2 words, community and district, since this is for the school district, I think we just transpose those 2 words in regards, I said district and community, because this is the school district. I think it's nice, but just It's district first and then community only.
Okay.
Because it's.
I agree.
school district, Yeah,
John, you got it?
yeah, I mean, it's there, I just think district first.
Yeah,
then-
that's more clear.
Yeah,
Good point.
I'm very comfortable with this here. Secretary Trujillo, anything stand out to you?
I'm pretty comfortable with it myself.
President Flores, we made the edits that you've asked for, so we have those documented, and so we'll get them to Christina whenever you're finished, if you have additional edits.
I have a maybe, so under enhancing resources, for the boards, to consider, would it be, so increases resources? Could we put the word increases and utilizes resources available? Or increases resources available to, I don't know if we need to put utilizes in there. Resources available, so we're increasing the resources available to students and teachers. Yeah, that's fine, for improved educational outcomes.
Do you want to leave it?
Yeah.
What do we just put the word increases the resources available? No? Or just leave it alone?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think it was, yeah.
She just signed mine just now.
So the governor just signed the
She
money.
just signed it just
She
now.
just signed it.
She had less than 3 hours to go by her legal deadline. She just signed
Yeah, it's
it.
midnight.
Yeah,
It's not been that yet.
so the deadline's at midnight.
Yeah, I know, it's midnight. She waited to the,
Yeah,
she wasn't happy with those guys.
anyway, it's passed.
Okay,
I'm fine with this document.
so I think, is the board consensus, you,
I'm totally on. I think it's great.
Secretary Trio?
I'm me too.
Okay, goes into record pretty soon here.
Can I hit save?
Dave, and then we'll send it to Christina. Okay.
Okay, so, moving along to item H2, action regarding leadership profile of the superintendent job description. That's this document here, the leadership profile?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to make a motion, with discussion from the board to approve the leadership profile as discussed and amended for the profile of the superintendent job description.
Happy to second.
I have a second from Vice President Cynthia. Call for the roll.
Member Concha, Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Okay, so discussion and action regarding any outstanding items to be addressed related to marketing, including opening of application portal. But they did present to us the marketing that they're gonna be doing. Does the board feel that any additional marketing or advertising needs to be done on any other avenues or portals? Recommendations?
Question.
Please.
Thank you. President Flores. You said a couple times Southwest, it seems centered, I don't,
No, it'll be national. but
It's
I'm just-
national.
Yeah,
okay, I just, when I heard Southwest. a
no, I
couple
just
times,
said that,
thought,
you know, we focus a lot on the Southwest because it's very germane to Taos. But there are other areas of the country where there
Got
are,
it, that was my question.
yes,
Good.
many individuals have worked in small rural communities where there are large Native American populations. So our breadth will be national, but the Southwest is probably more people that kind of
I see,
understand
yes.
the culture.
I see what you're saying. Okay, thank you for that explanation.
So do we want to add any other, or marketing recommendations to the Portville, Portland King?
Yeah, definitely, we wanna do, Taos News, like, I say they're digital. I know they have, online edition, we wanna do that, and they're, you know, it's surprising how many people look at the Taos News from outside of town, especially online.
Yeah.
They just like, so we wanna do that. I don't know if we have to be in the hard paper, but it wouldn't.
Excuse me, President Flores, Mr. King, we did already submit one ad to the Taos News. So
I heard
we're
you.
familiar with the process.
Yeah.
That's part of our DNA right now too.
And I heard you are on there, so it's great. No, if you, I said the tempo wouldn't be bad when it just comes out the first week, just to be in the tempo, because that's like what's happening in the community, and people look at that, just one ad, just to let the people know, because you'd be surprised, the gente telling everyone else, oh, well, you know, you talk to someone, you got somebody who's got a relative in wherever, oh, Taos is hiring a superintendent, oh, you know, so you have that, you know, the word of mouth.
I think the recommendation would be to advertise it in the Taos News, and I think you guys have that in as part of your
Yes.
umbrella of advertising, so.
Online and a written, I would do the tempo the first week. That's their kind of insert of what's happening and what's going on that week, entertainment. Tempo. Yeah. And Chris Baker is the publisher. Talk to Chris, tell him I sent you,
Okay.
or remember King.
Does that mean we get
He's
a,
my casino.
does that
And
mean
tell him
we
you
get
want a discount.
I was gonna ask, you can we get a King discount?
You want a well, not my discount. You want a discount.
I'm not sure, now, I'm not sure maybe where the best place to put it in the Taos News is, but maybe we may want to, maybe in consultation with Mr. Baker, find out where.
Yeah.
Feel.
What does he feel at the highest visibility, because he buys ink by the barrel.
Duly noted.
So with that, we'll go
I
ahead.
can, you want me to send you his number?
Sure.
Okay, I mean, I think Mr. Baker's a good friend of the school districts.
Yeah,
He's a good guy.
So, with that, there's an action item, regarding any outstanding, I don't think we need to make an action on that, it's a discussion and possible action. So, we've made a recommendation, do we feel that we need to vote on this board? To approve their marketing strategy? I don't
I
think,
trust what they're doing.
okay, so,
myself.
is that something you guys need to vote
He's
on
just
this?
reporting on what they're doing.
Just kind of gave him this,
No, your directive is sufficient.
Yep.
We duly noted that.
okay, and then the next item 4 is discussion possible action regarding superintendent search next steps, including possible adjustments to the search plan. So we already approved the timeline, so I don't think unless there's any amendments to the timeline, then, I don't believe we need to vote on this here, other than I guess we could re-cement the timeline as presented. Any recommendations from the board or, so discussion possible action on superintendent search next steps?
One question.
Yes.
President Flores. You're sending that over to Christina, right? That, what you presented?
Yes,
So that's
I
gonna come
just,
to us.
I already
We'll
emailed,
have it, we'll have it. then.
Yes.
it's already emailed to you,
Can we have it?
the final.
Yeah, no, we're okay with that. So does the board want to make any action on the timeline?
No, it's already been presented.
It's already been presented and we voted on it the last time, and it's kind of, are we on calendar, are we on,
Yes, we are on track.
on track?
Yes.
It's the same timeline as February the 3rd, I think, and we are on track.
Okay, so then we don't need to make any amendments. Okay, so with that, we discussed item 4, no action. Discussed item 3, no action. Directives have been given to JG Consulting. Moving down the agenda, item I, a new business, we went through that. So our last item is J of executive session. So I asked for this to be presented so that we could move into executive session and discuss with the superintendent, provide some evaluative feedback. So at this point in time, we've concluded with our regular agenda. Jonathan, once I make the motion to enter into executive session, you could go ahead and cut off the recording. We'll exit out of executive session. There's not no foreseen action items. There's nothing here that says action items. It's just gonna be some discussion regarding superintendent performance indicators. So we'll cut the recording. We'll record the time with our clerk that we exited executive session. I'll give a brief summary of what was discussed, if anything, for the record, and then we will end our meeting. Actually, for some reason, we have this consent agenda here. I think we missed it. So at this, I will make a motion to amend the agenda to move item K above item J, which is a consent agenda, which is an MOU for Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. This was presented in your packet. I would like to just go ahead and bring it over. Actually, can I, Madam Clerk, call for the roll? Actually, I need
Second.
Second, Vice President Spring, sorry, getting late. Call for the roll.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. So consent agenda, K1, MOU for Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, Superintendent Morgan Boyd.
President Flores, members of the board, this MOU for Rocky Mountain Youth Corps is to help support the ski program that we're going to start initiating for any students who have not had the experience of skiing up at the Ski Valley. So it's a partnership between the town of Taos, Lore Foundation, Taos Ski Valley, and Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. Rocky Mountain Youth Corps has agreed to be the holder of the funds so that we can purchase ski items for students.
Question, the funding for this, is it coming through a grant, the district?
Yes, this is coming through the Lore Foundation,
Okay.
and Mayor Maestas is the one who initiated this, and we're very thankful to him that he's provided this opportunity to our students. This did go through legal review as well.
And is that for next year?
We're trying to get a pilot program off of the ground. It's proving to be a little bit more challenging than what we thought, so we're still in the process of it. But it's for this year.
Oh, we're trying to do it this year.
Yes,
Before the ski season ends?
yes.
What is, so what's the dollar amount,
Of the
grant?
I believe it is 15,000.
How many students are we trying to?
As many students as possible. What we're looking is purchasing ski pants, gloves, goggles if needed, and then storing those and then reusing them for other students within the district. So we have, our community schools are going to be housing those items.
Sounds like a great program. I remember when I was young and they had this ski program with the schools, you know, my parents struggled to buy goggles for 3 kids, you know, and a ski jacket and all that stuff. I mean, it's costly.
Oh,
That
yeah.
stuff's not cheap,
Yes.
you know?
So they're gonna, what is the age groups you're trying to tap?
K through 12.
So again, because they have ski club already.
And this is what we're doing is encouraging students who have not had the
I'm
opportunity
getting it.
to participate in ski clubs.
So
this
they're
is-
first.
Yes.
Okay, we have a recommendation for approval for the superintendent. Would the board like to entertain a motion for approval? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we, approve the MOU for the Rocky Mountain Youth Corps Ski, program, the grant.
Okay, with that, being said, I'll second Board Member King's motion to approve the MOU for Rocky Mountain Youth Corps grant from the War Foundation, $15,000. I have a second call for the roll, Madam Clerk.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Okay, back to my spiel. So we're gonna enter into executive session. Item J1. Pursuant to section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, for the board to discuss limited personnel matters, specifically for the board to provide early evaluation feedback to the interim superintendent around the superintendent performance indicators and board adopted pillars as part of onboarding for success. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to enter the executive session. It is 9:20. Make it a second.
Second.
Call for the roll.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes.
Did I miss this one?
No, okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Good
luck.
work. Good edits.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, man.
I'm sorry that we gotta leave you with that. But you're in good hands, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I told them, go down to Burger King. That's all the turkey budget had.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I did not McDonald's, I didn't close the
Yeah,
nine.
no, the JJ Buckets down on the city. That's all.
No, it's okay. No, I know you guys are too generous.
Happy birthday, have a blessed year.
Likewise,
I'm here for
likewise.
you.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Okay, thank you. Good night. You take care.
Let's set up a regular meeting together.
Sure.
Dr. Scrivener? Thank you so much. I appreciate all your input and all your work.
Good. I think you came up with a good document.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Today's Thursday.
Excuse me, President Flores? Go ahead and stop.
Yes.
Okay, whatever you want to do.
Okay,
I'm
good.
here.
As soon as we,
Okay, you take care. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Pass the-
See you soon.